Hey, how's it going? We're live. Welcome to Know Your Gear Live podcast number 240. See, even I'm shocked. We're live. It was just wait. What happens before the show starts is I drop in the feed into the OBS software, and then it says start streaming. And I say yes, and then it just kind of does the the wheel where it's thinking. And sometimes it takes a little extra seconds, a couple extra seconds, and then boom, it hits me, and I'm like, oh, we're here, we're live. So we're live. I hope everybody had a fantastic week, and mine was very productive, so that's good. When I get a lot of things done, it makes the weekend just a little bit more enjoyable for sure. Absolutely. We have a lot of things to talk about. I'm sure you guys have cool questions to talk about as well. And if you're new to the show and you're trying to kind of send the topic or question to me, you can super chat it. You can put the question mark first. And I enabled this thing called members on YouTube, and I'm not quite 100% sure how it's working so far. But like I said, if you decide to join that, I'm trying to kind of incorporate that as well. Again, just trying to find multiple ways to get interesting topics and questions on the show. And again, I'm always looking for something a little interesting, something that we might all just enjoy as well. And as always, we start the show. We have some early additions that came in and dropped in some questions before the show started. And before I start anything, I should tell you guys the Donner pedal giveaway. We had a winner, and the winner is Jennifer. And I let her know, and she's already sent me the address, so that will get out. So she won the Donner Rev Echo, the reverb and delay pedal. And then since Donner supplied the pedal, I bought from Sweetwater a bundle, which was really cool. It's like $49, and it came with two D'Addario guitar cables, like 10 footers, a couple jumper D'Addario cables, and then a one spot power supply and daisy chain. So it was everything they would need. And I'll throw some KYG, some Know Your Gear stickers in there and stuff. Make sure she's all taken care of. And it's funny. I told you guys last week when we did the giveaways, a lot of the giveaways on Black Friday, I kept telling everybody like, oh, it'll get to you eventually. And if you're out of the country, which a lot of you were, my wife will do it. My wife knocked it out of the park this week. Everything got out. There was not a single person, I think, off that didn't get something shipped out. So everything got shipped. So that was really, I was shocked. It never seems to go that smooth. So there you go. Yeah. And what's great is that even though that video, the Donner video, was not like on the podcast, it was a separate video. Jennifer is a regular you see on here on the podcast. That's always double nice when I get to see, you know what I mean? Because sometimes, believe it or not, a lot of the audiences don't cross over. It sounds weird, but it's true. When you look at my analytics, the majority of the people watching the podcast are not watching a majority of the videos, and the people watching the majority of the videos are not watching the podcast, and so on. And that actually brings me to a couple segues. I want to say some thank yous today. First of all, thank you to every single one of you who sent me this. It made my week. I didn't know what the heck was going on. I was getting these weird messages through Instagram, weird emails, and it's this. Spotify was sending out like your year in review thing, and a lot of you guys were sending me your Know Your Gear podcast numbers. And some of you, I hope you're listening to that stuff at work, because man, some of you guys consumed copious amounts of Know Your Gear. It was a lot. It was really, really cool. I also got my Spotify list. You know what I mean? And so it was really cool. I got to see how many hours you guys consume of Spotify, from the podcast. And what was interesting is, although it went up a whole lot from the previous year, it's still not as much as iTunes. And I know a lot of artists, as you know, don't care for Spotify, and I also have the same issues that everybody else has with Spotify. And I don't think iTunes is much better, but for a podcast platform, it doesn't really matter. They don't pay you anything, so I don't get any kind of funds for that. But it's still amazing, and it is a sponsored content because it's sponsored by the patrons. They sponsor these podcasts. So thank you guys so much for that. So thank you, every single one of you, for doing that. So let me get to some of the first questions. And the first question I saw was from Woohoo Friday. I don't think that's the sign on. I think that's what they started with. Said, do you still plan to release a review of the Sire S7? Interesting enough, I have the Sire I do. I have the Sire S7. I was going to say I have the Sire H7 here. I have the Sire S7. Interesting. I swear I did not put that guitar there because I saw that question. I put the guitar there because I had a spot for one guitar for the backdrop, and that was the guitar to the left that I could show you. There was two other guitars. There's two other guitars on my left right now that I'm not allowed, or it's too soon to show you guys. And so yes, I plan to do a review of the Sire S7. So if you guys catch you guys back up, it's been about a year since all this happened. What happened was you guys talked about Sire so much. I bought a Sire L7, and I think, did they say S7, right? I just want to make sure I'm reading the right thing. Yeah, S7, which is the one behind me. I bought and reviewed a Sire H7 and then flipped it. In other words, I did the video review and then I sold it immediately online to churn it into another guitar to get another video. And I love that guitar. That video did very well, which is very nice. You know what I mean? It's nice when a video does well. And what's interesting is two things. You guys obviously were right. I thought the Sire stuff was a cut above. It seems a little bit to me, a little bit above Harley Benton, a little bit above, all these new brands. It's like there's a little bit of like extra detail work done to the guitars, okay? Now, and like I said, that one I bought it from, I think, Chicago Music Exchange. So, like I said, it wasn't sent to me by a company. But I got to tell you something. And again, I didn't plan this, I promise. And if you don't believe that, I understand because it's going to look weird. Two things happened. The owner of Sire Guitars, his name's Kyle, reached out to me and said, thank you so much for the video. Obviously, you guys really reacted to the video and reached out to Sire, and you guys like the stuff. And he told me if I ever needed to buy a Sire again, he'd sell me one for a dealer cost. So great. Before I knew what happened, he had sent the Sire S7 and a Sire H7. So I have the hollow body, which I'll be reviewing next. And he said he's going to send another S7. So he's going to send 3 guitars to the channel to do reviews. And I said, thank you so much. If it's okay, I'd like to give one of the guitars away. So we'll be giving one of the Sires away. And then I'll use the others, right? On videos, and of course do the video reviews. And the only problem is, even though he was nice enough to send me these, there's not really any in stock in the U.S. Outside the U.S., there seems to be quite a few in stock. But inside the U.S., it's been, as soon as they land, they're gone. And he told me they're going to be all caught up by January, February of next year. And so I've been kind of pushing the videos back because I find lately doing videos of a product that you guys then search and can't find anywhere doesn't seem to do anybody any good. So that's why. But here's the part you're not going to believe. A couple weeks ago, and I didn't know how to talk about this. Look at this. I got a scarf. A couple weeks ago, a package showed up from Korea. So Kyle, even though the Sire guitars are made in Indonesia, Kyle lives in Korea, the owner. And I think he owns a factory there as well. And he's also a pickup builder. So he builds amazing pickups in Korea. So I got this box. And I got this letter, and it was really beautifully, obviously it's not handwritten, but it's a beautiful letter, very kind. It talks about the friendship, because me and him went back and forth, on this. And he signed it just Kyle, and I'm like, I don't know a Kyle, right? It was just because there's no other information. It just says, thanks, Kyle. And I'm like, Kyle? And of course, I'm not thinking of this Kyle, because obviously all the guitars are made in Indonesia, and this is from Korea. What I got was, apparently, and again, I apologize for all my misunderstandings, okay? I'm going to get a lot of this wrong. He sent this beautiful box, okay? Now, there's a weird twist to this story. And I open it up, and there's all these beautiful treats in there. You can see we ate some, all right? We all tried some. And here's what's funny, because what happened was I figured it out after about 10 minutes that was Kyle. And I was like, wow, what a beautiful gift. And it was wrapped in this cloth, and it came in a box, and it's like a national holiday in Korea. It's like a friendship day. He sent us a friendship gift. What's funny was we didn't know what the hell we were looking at, you can imagine, and it was on a Saturday. My buddy Ralph was here. He didn't know what we were looking at. None of us. But this is the weird part of the story you could never predict in a million years. While this was happening, while I'm opening this package, the cable guy was at the house to fix the internet. The internet was having problems. And we were talking, and he goes, oh, I know what that is. And he walks over and he goes, I served like 5 years in Korea. And I go, oh, yeah. And he's like, yeah. And he goes through and he goes, this is this rice candy. This is this rice thing. And he was going through everything with us. And it was great because he's like, oh yeah, I've had all this stuff many times over. And he goes, I actually, it kind of worked out because he really loves the stuff. And he gave, my wife gave him some because it's 2 layers. What you're seeing is the top layer. The bottom layer is already gone. We gave him, because they're all pre-packaged things, we gave him some to take to his daughter. And I don't know, it was just a pleasant experience. And the reason I share that with you is obviously not for any reason, but that's kind of probably maybe why I instinctively grabbed this guitar. Like I said, I wasn't set out to do it. I just want to share that with you because there's nothing in this letter. There's nothing for him to really gain. You know what I mean? From me doing a video of his guitars. He already sent me guitars. He's just a nice guy. And I love that when you find that out. I can really truly find that out about companies you deal with, right? We talked about some companies last week that we thought were grumpy or don't like. It's just really nice when you see somebody who really like trying to put some next level quality gear out. You know what I mean? Trying to hit price points, it seems like he's really trying to do the right things. Really cool dude. So there you go. That was just, I thought we're sharing. Plus I wanted to share that with you. Like I said, I just want to do it one more time. That is just a cool, I mean, like I said, some of you are like, I've seen it before, but for us, this was like, what is this? I thought like the president sent me something. I was like, what is this? This is so cool looking. So there you go. Very, very cool. All right. Thank you for share. Thank you guys for indulging my share time with that. Okay, so the question was, am I going to review the guitar? Well, that was a very long story to tell you. Yes, I'm absolutely going to review the guitar. In fact, this guitar has been in at least 2 or 3 videos in the videos, and it's because, like I said, I'm just pushing back to push those reviews back as far as possible until I see they're in stock. And then also it helps the channel too, if that, because obviously like Sweetwater and places like that carry them. When companies I have affiliate links with carry products I'm going to review, it's usually a good idea if they're in stock to do the review around then, because if you buy and and it's not like you guys, like I said, I always tell you guys, call Sweetwater, get them on the phone, get a deal, keep your money, right? It's your money. You work for it, keep it. There's enough people, that just click on the videos and we'll click the links. And like I said, it's all random pennies here and there. It adds up. But what's nice is if you make a video on a guitar and they sell 2 or 3 of those guitars, it kind of really finishes out the time of how much time you put in the video when you make some money. That's it. That's all I got to say about that. So yes, the answer is yes. And a giveaway. Like I said, eventually we will do a giveaway with the Sire guitar as well. My plan was to review all 3. And of course, as you can imagine, pick the least favorite of the 3 and then give that one away to one of you guys. And then, of course, keep the other 2 so I can play them pretty regular. So Luke says, hats missing KYG logo. Yes. The story with that is I remember I had the check mark one, which was the Vans hat. Everybody was complaining I didn't have Know Your Gear hats. I bought a ton of black hats. I actually bought different colors too, and to test which hats would be KYG hats. And then I just started wearing the black because that's not entirely accurate. What really kind of tied into that was when this happened, it was right when my wife was getting ill and all the things were happening. And part of the thing was she was going to take the hats I like this model. I have a couple of these in black in this model, down to the, I don't know, you call it the seamstress? Is that what you call it? Like there's a person she deals with. For those patrons that remember, we have Dickie shirts, and we'll do special runs of Dickie shirts with, your names and stuff. And that's where she takes those. That's why they're very expensive. She takes them, have them made. And she was going to have Know Your Gear put on this and like prototype it out and figure it all out. And then of course, all that stuff happened. So, they, yeah, that's the answer to that question. So it will be black until one day it has a KYG logo. There you go. Oh, okay. So, and I'm probably saying this wrong. Grant says that is a bento box. That sounds right. And again, like I said, I don't mean to ruin anyone's culture or anything. He might say what it is. I know, because again, I read this like 2 weeks ago. He says, yeah, this is I can't say, that's why I can't say the holiday. I can't say it. Chuseok? I don't know how to say it. Chuechus, like us EOK. Okay. Holiday, which is a Korean traditional Thanksgiving day. Korean people would like to send some presents to their precious friends. And like I said, it was so nice to be considered one of those, a precious friend. It was, like I said, a very cool thing, very cool experience. Okay. All right, let's get to some. We got to get to some more guitar questions because this goes. The next one is from 3J Music. Says, hey, Phil, thoughts on Reverb sending? Yeah, I don't know what that glitch was. But yeah, we just had the cable guy out to fix this. This is exactly the problem they were supposed to fix. So sadly enough, they're going to come out again. Have to come out again. All right, so back to what I was saying. Okay, let's start from scratch. From scratch, the question was that basically Reverb has sent out everybody an email message saying that starting in 2022, so next year, they'll be giving out 1099s to anyone who sells more than $600 worth of merchandise on the platform. I think that's also because in the United States, 1099s are going to $600 next year anyways. I think currently now it's like $900 or $1,000. But the important part of this is, again, it's for next year. The only thing that's just part of that's not Reverb. That's just part of taxes and the government. The government's going to get theirs. That's how it works. The only thing I can tell you is that you have to, if you are a LLC, if you're a business, you probably want to make sure you're updated correctly with Reverb to make sure that's correct. So, because even if you, well, like I said, you have to, if you're a business, you need to make sure you're set up on Reverb as a business so that they 1099 correctly, you as a business and not as a person. If you're an individual person, yes, you're going to get a 1099 at the end of 2022 saying how much stuff you sold on Reverb. It's going to be oh so fun. So, yeah. What do I predict about that? I want to predict everybody's going to try to sell as much stuff on Craigslist. I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, that's next year. So the only thing I want to tell you is my understanding is that's next year, has nothing to do with this year. Okay. The next question came from Derek. He said, hey, Phil, strings are gear too. Do coated strings sound different? How long will strings last on my unplayed guitars? How do you match a guitar to the right set of strings? And he says, thanks, you rock. Those are great questions because I like how he separated them into two categories, which is really important, okay? First of all, coated strings. I don't prefer coated strings. That's just a preference. Some players love coated strings. Again, it's just not my preference. What I will tell you, and I've said this before, is I use coated strings definitely on acoustics and sometimes on electrics, very, very limited amount when I have a guitar that I know I never play. So if I know I have a guitar and I know it just never gets really played that much, I'll tend to put coated strings on them because if I pick up the guitar after about 3-4 months since the first time I played it, pick it up, they're going to feel perfect. They're not going to be corroded or dead or anything like that. So that's when I use coated strings. It kind of works for me. Like I said, if you sweat a lot, if you have a acidic sweat to your, and it kind of corrodes the strings, maybe coated strings are right for you. Coated strings are just, like I said, it's just a choice. One of the things me personally, what I don't like about coated strings, I don't like the way they feel. I kind of like to feel the roughness of the coils on the strings. You know what I mean? The other wraps, I like to feel it kind of be aggressive. I don't need it to be smooth. And also, coated strings for the most part sound a little dead to me. They're not as bright. But the give on that is, in a couple days, I definitely think they're the same, where uncoated strings in a couple days aren't as bright. But that's something to think about as well. That being said, the second part of his question, which was also very interesting, said, how do you match a guitar to the right strings? Now, gauge-wise, I've always said this, right? Your guitar picks its strings. So, for instance, I don't necessarily play 9s or 10s. Or 11s, I let guitars decide. So, like I said, sometimes I'll have a Les Paul with 9s and I'll have a Strat with 10s. It just works out that way. It's whatever the guitar works best with the guitar. Sometimes the guitar has a stiff kind of feel to it. I need a lighter gauge strings. Sometimes I do hybrids. And sometimes it's me. And so, for instance, when I'm not playing as much, sometimes the 10s just get a little aggressive, hard to bend for me, and I'll go back down to 9s on a couple guitars. And then after a while playing all the time again, they just kind of feel too easy, and then I go back to 10s. So again, I just kind of go with what works for me. I try to use 10s for the most part, because of YouTube, because when I'm recording videos for you guys, tend to have I don't want to say they record better, but that's kind of the thing. It's like it really kind of hits the spot better for demoing the guitars and stuff. But the type of string, not the gauge. So pure nickel, stainless steel, all the hybrid strings, how do you pick that for a guitar? Well, most companies will put on the back of a package, the brightness chart, this is the brightest string. This is the warmest sounding string. It depends what you're trying to accentuate. So if your guitar is really bright and you're trying to kind of mellow that out, you might want to go with some pure nickel strings or semi-wound strings or some other type of string. But if your guitar is all, kind of muddy and dark, or it's just not, doesn't really have a lot of snap to it and a lot of brights, maybe you go with a brighter string like an NYXL or something like that. The Ernie Ball Cobalts are really bright. They'll do that for you. So that's kind of the idea, right? When it comes to type of strings, is you can try and mess with that stuff. I like messing with strings. I've done that for years, changing strings out on guitars, because it's one of the things you learn when you first, the way most guitar players react to strings is just inherently strange, but we all do it, which is, $8.99 for strings. That's ridiculous. But it's a comparative thing. Obviously besides income, $8 is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But sometimes when you walk in a store and you see $4 strings and you see $8 strings or $12 strings, you think, you're thinking like, well, not only is that how much they cost, but you're going to have to buy a lot of these. Sometimes at some point I decided, I'm like, I'm just going to try them all and see what happens. And like I said, for some reason, I tend to gravitate towards the more pricey strings. I don't know what that is. Like I said, there could be placebo there. I just think more expensive strings sound better. It could be true. I don't know. I don't really care. I just like that I like the strings I like. The least expensive strings that I like is addario. And they're pretty inexpensive, but there's, less expensive strings. Grant says he likes rusty strings. Well, make sure you get your tetanus shot and you'll be fine. That's it. What's funny is that is probably a joke, maybe not. But man, when you get guitars to repair sometimes, some of the strings on the guitars will scare the life out of you. I've played guitars where immediately I go, I need a tetanus shot right now. And then I play guitars where the strings were so gross that I was like, I need to just take a layer of skin off my hands. This is so gross. It's one of the things I've had to get over. I don't consider myself like a germaphobe or I don't know, is there a dirtophobe? Somebody afraid of like grime and dirt. But man, crusty strings, crusty necks, it was the thing that was really tough for me. It took years of just forcing myself to go, I gotta work on this guitar, and I gotta, I'll clean it. But like I said a couple episodes ago, I was talking about guitar players sometimes you don't want you to clean their guitars. That's where it's kind of really gross. You're working on this guitar, it feels gross, it's all slimy looking, and they don't want you to clean it, and you're like, oh, so gross. But, at some point you just figure out the way to get past it. Adrian says gloves. Gloves, yes and no. There's problems with gloves, so you can use latex gloves, you can use rubber gloves, you can use cloth gloves. There are some benefits to gloves and some drawbacks. First of all, any of the soft gloves, the cotton gloves and stuff, the problem sometimes is, you don't want a guitar to ever slip out of your hands. And that can happen. That's just realistic. Again, you have to, we're talking about two different things, so I just want to make sure we're separate here. There's a difference between wearing gloves and doing things with your guitars and doing things with other customers' guitars. Some gloves can have a negative reaction to the finish of a guitar. So, like I said, I do have surgical gloves that I use from time to time. I'll put them on for the guitars. But again, and I can tell you right now, the other thing too that I was going to tell you is 99% of the time, as soon as you pull out any kind of sandpaper, files, anything like that, those gloves they don't last. They get torn in seconds. So it's tough. But like I said, I wear stuff I have to clean. To clean guitars, I'll wear gloves. But working on guitars, I try not to wear the gloves so much. Mr. Scagnasty says, "Hey Phil, what do you think of DV Mark amps?" I like them a lot. DV Mark. If you guys don't know DV Mark, there's DV Mark Bass. Okay, so Mark Bass, some of you guys, it's funny, guitar players will probably know a bass brand more than they know the guitar brand. So most of you guys will probably know a brand called Mark Bass, and you can always tell because the logo's in orange, Mark Bass, and you always see them at Guitar Center because it's an exclusive Guitar Center deal. Now, I don't know 100%, okay, but it is my full understanding that Mark Bass is an Italian company, I think. Again, if I'm wrong, it's somewhere in Europe, but it's not owned by Guitar Center. It just has exclusive distribution in the US with Guitar Center. That's important to because sometimes I see people say, "Oh, Mark Bass is an in-house Guitar Center only brand," and that's not my understanding. And in fact, I think there's actual independent Mark Bass dealers. It's just not a lot because, and the reason I say that is because we were asked, I thought we were talked to them about being a Mark Bass dealer and a DV dealer because I like their stuff. And that was the issue we had was, okay, so basically I thought, and again, I'm doing off memory from at least 10, 15 years ago at this point for that conversation. I thought it was like everything we purchased, we're going to have to basically give Guitar Center because they're the distributor. So you're like, oh, so to get it, I got to give you, so it kind of, as an independent dealer, kind of bugs you going, so every dollar I spend, I got to give like 10 cents to Guitar Center. You're like, oh, great. Nothing like paying your competitor. But great stuff. I always like their bass stuff. DV Mark is the guitar side. Okay. And they have some great stuff. In fact, their Neo 212 that they do for, Frank and Bali, fantastic cabinet. Some of their cabinets, fantastic stuff. I think their amps and stuff, really cool. Definitely, sometimes you can find them for a deal. They have pretty, not horrible, but pretty not great resale value because I think they're considered, like I said, most of you guys are like, they're a Guitar Center only brand, right? I think that hurts them because that's perceived by a lot of people. Also, sometimes, like I said, it's just not well known as a brand. So that's why the resale value is not so awesome. But I like them. I own a DV Mark cabinet. It's one of the best cabinets I own. They make a fantastic, they don't call it an FRFR cabinet. But that's kind of what it is. In fact, I think it's probably one of the best FRFR. I've tried every FRFR cabinet, and let me tell you, they're horrible as a product. As a whole, they do really weird things to your sound. And what you're really trying to do is exactly what we know you're trying to do. If you've got an FRFR cabinet, you're trying to recreate the simulated context of your sound and then amplify that out. And you really don't want to change it too much. The DV Mark changes it a little bit. But one of the things about the DV Mark cabinet, the powered cabinets that are really cool, is you can plug into them either through XLR or a 1/4 inch. But what's nice is they have a knob, which I always thought was really cool, that kind of goes like flat response. And then as you turn it, goes over into more guitar cabinet. And it's a Neo cabinet and they're ultra light. I don't know what they go for, $400 or $500. Fantastic. Weighs nothing. You pick it up, it's like air. You could take one of those cabinets, turn the knob over to guitar, throw your pedal board in front of it like a slave amplifier, right? So you're just going to basically have power in a 112 cabinet. You can line out of that cabinet into another cabinet and use that power. I don't know what the wattage is. Probably 60 watts. Not sure like that. But like I said, love their stuff. Fantastic. Thank you for that question, by the way, because they never come up as a brand on the show as a topic. And I think it's because, like I said, most people think of them as a Guitar Center only brand. But if you guys, I would definitely put Mark Bass and DV Mark as like the same line to me as Godin, and who else? I mean, there's a couple brands like that. Godin for sure. I'm trying to think of another brand too, where it's like not a lot of people know about them. Really good quality, really great when they go on sale, and really great used when they take a hit in the in the used. Like I said, it sucks when you buy it and you take that hit, but man, it's glorious when you're the one benefiting from the whole. They paid $8, now I'm going to pay $450. That's great. And so, like I said, so it's worth trying their stuff out. Like I said, some of their I would love to try one of their little. They have like a Class D amplifier guitar amp that's like a plexi kind of style amp, and I think it's reasonable. I think it's like $400. I would definitely try that. That's, like I said, the only downfall of them is you'll never really see them on YouTubers channels because they're controlled pretty much by Guitar Center. Guitar Center doesn't really work with YouTubers, so you never see any of their products on there. Maybe I'll do a video. If you thought it would be interesting, I'd do a video of that cabinet. So I'm not old, I'm vintage says, I have a confession to make. I hear people refer to FRFR cabs all the time, and I have no idea what it is. So there's a technical term, but I want to keep it easy for you. The way I look at an FRFR cabinet, for me, is like a studio monitor, okay? It's something that's hopefully going to let you hear exactly. So like when you're mixing your, if you're recording at home, let's just keep things easy, right? You're recording at home and you're playing back the music you've made. You want to hear it on your monitors as true to the recording as possible, right? So sometimes, you'll take your recordings into your car and listen to it in the car stereo, kind of hear what people will hear it as after it's mixed and stuff. But during the recording, you kind of want to hear everything the way it is. An FRFR cabinet will kind of is promised, so to speak, to do kind of that. So if you have like a Kemper, an Axe FX, a Helix, Head Rush, or if you're any of those technologies where you have simulated amps and it's all gonna obviously you plug into your recording and it sounds exactly like what it sounds like. This is an idea to take this live. How I use an FRFR cabinet and why I use it is when I'm recording. Like I said, I record when you guys hear the videos that I make of the gear. The cabinet that you're hearing is in a different room than I'm in. This is because over years of learning to do this, I learned that I got to truly mic up the amp for you guys to hear it correctly, to hear, not a version of that amp. I want you to hear what I think that amp sounds like in the room. So to make things easier for my recording process, I do it in another room. The problem is I can't, I need to hear it. So what I like to do is I like to run a signal, whether it's from the recording that I'm making or from the actual amplifier, depends on what it has, into a FRFR, some kind of cabinet. And at that point, I'm using it just like a monitor. I could use studio monitors, but I like having it in the room, on the floor, sounding kind of like what I think it's going to sound like, you know what I mean, in that other room. So that's what I use it for. But the DV Mark, I use that for, like, you use that for anything. Like I said, you just take it on the go. So Go Light, just a powered cabinet that weighs less than a regular cabinet because it's got a Neo speaker in it. So best things. The other FRFRs you can look into are Head Rush. Those are the most common. You constantly see those used because guitar players get them. They go, oh, they're horrible. Again, I personally, this is my opinion. I think if you're buying a Head Rush FRFR to sound good, I think you're overreaching for what you're looking for. I think you're just trying to get, I'm just trying to get a reference of sound. Like I said, like a studio monitor, you know what I mean? Or a monitor on stage. I just need to hear myself. Friedman makes them, all kinds of I've tried all of them. The problem is, again, same thing. They all inherently all have the same problem. They're a little bassy. They all don't sound great to me, and they just get really freaking expensive right away. And that's the part I don't like, because $1,000 speaker that doesn't sound great, all you think about is how I could spend $1,000 on a great sounding cabinet. But it does nice. Richard says, is that a 50-watt MK2 Mark Plexi? This is a Marshall 1987X behind me right there. Absolutely love that amp. I like my Friedman a little bit more, the small box. A little bit more. The Marshall's got that sound when you plug into it and you go, oh yeah, that sounds like what I remember them. But to be honest with you, what's funny is I told you guys, because I got rid of all my Marshalls. I only have my Plexi and my 2061, which are basically my Plexi style amps. And the last couple times I've recorded, I did not use these amps. I used my Malin Plexi tube preamp, and I used my Pedal Pal Plexi preamp pedal. And I use those, and they work fine for me. So there you go. But this thing definitely came alive when I got the aux. And so you guys, I'll update on that. I have a video this week. I'm sure it's this week. I just got to finish editing. I did a aux versus Captor X. Captor. It's the newest Captor. I think it's called the Captor X. But I put a little twist in there for you guys. So it's not a video of like which one's better, the aux or the Captor. In fact, what I did is I kind of lined up 3 products that I thought, because And I spent hours doing this, by the way. It's one of those videos where it's probably like 5 hours of video that has to be edited down to 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But it's really about what each one will do for you and what you should think about, your needs. And they're all totally different price points, which is great. Okay, so okay, hold on a second. I'm just jumping around. Been still a little out of sorts because of the internet crashing. Matthew says, "Hey Phil, good evening. Any experience with Guitar Fetish necks?" No. Like I said, I've tried a few of the Guitar Fetish pickups. I reviewed a couple of slick guitars. Valiant, who's one of the viewers on the channel, he bought and sent me some slick guitars, which we did some giveaways for and stuff after we're done. Those videos, for whatever reasons, did really well, like a couple 100,000 views each, I think. I thought it was something like really good, way more than my normal view counts. They're way up there. And then that caused, I guess, over time, Guitar Fetish to reach out to me. When Guitar Fetish reached out, I kind of sent them a response of like, hey, could you send me these things? I gave them a list of like, I don't know, like 3 to 5 things of things like, send me like these 2 guitars and then like these items. And I basically make a bunch of content and no, they didn't do it. So, what are you going to do? Like I said, it's the weird business I'm in. They basically were very interested in whatever product they wanted to sell to you guys, they would send that out. And so you guys know, I'm never hard on that about that. If a company reaches out to me and it's like, hey, we have a new product and we want you to present it to your audience, I always try to do, like I said, a scratch your back kind of thing. Like, okay, great, send the product out. I'll do that video. And then here's the video I'd like to make as well. And I think, and I think that's the benefit, right? You guys will know, like, here's a product. Obviously they're sending it out because they're sending all the channels out. And then here's a product that you guys seem interested in, or I'm interested in, and win-win. And some companies like them, man, they just want to sell what they want to sell and they don't want to do anything else. So I chalk that up to, the good news is this, eventually those companies come around though. They start learning real fast that their method of turning YouTube channels into marketing channels doesn't work. I consider my channel entertainment channel. I consider myself as an entertainer. I'm not a marketing channel. I don't really perceive myself as, I don't sell myself or my channel to a company as a marketing solution. I sell myself and my channel to a company as a entertainment channel that deals with guitars, and they would have an opportunity to get their products in front of guitar players, which would be nice for them. So Kristen says, that's how Glary and Dawners see the light of day. Glary and Dawners, Donner guitars is different than Glary. And I know they're different companies, but different games and play. And I've said this before. Glary guitars is real simple. Glary guitars will send guitars to everybody because they're selling guitars that are $75. And so essentially they have a win because they can send a channel that has 1,000 subscribers a $65 guitar and get their guitar out there. Look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how big the channel is. It's really simple math. If you send a guitar out, let's say an investment of your time and money, $50, right? And the channel sells 3 guitars, you got advertising not only for free, but they probably made $10, right? So if a channel can sell 50 of those, I mean, it's exponentially. So they're in a game that's uniquely to themselves. I can tell you right now, Glary would send me every single guitar they have every single month. Because again, a channel like mine, if I just briefly talk about Glary, like when I did the left-handed video, I said, hey, will you send out a lefty? And they said, yeah, they sent out a lefty. So again, I don't know how many views that video got or how many they sold. I don't get to see any of that stuff. But I would imagine, I can't imagine a world where they didn't make back the $100 it cost to send that guitar out to the channel. So that's Glary's gig. Donner is different. Donner is a company that definitely quickly understood how cheap And this is really the important part of that story. Donner understands how cheap all this marketing is. They couldn't exist in Guitar World days. In the old days where marketing was a fortune, right? Where you had to buy, the second page of Guitar World magazine and for the year, that's why if you notice, like you can open up Guitar World magazines for 20 years straight and the second page of every Guitar World magazine is the same ad because companies would lock those down. Page 5, ad, right? They'd lock down that page. So it wasn't even about how much it cost. It was like, you can't buy that ad. You know what I mean? So that was an expense. Getting rock stars to play your guitars and actually play them and talk about them. Well, there was before social media. I mean, they saw it on stage briefly. It's not enough. You need it like in a music video. I want you to imagine, a lot of you, I'm sure everybody kind of dreams about this. I want you to dream up in your head right now that you started a guitar company with a friend and now you just got to get everybody to know your guitar exists. And now you just got to get a rock star to play your guitar, but you need them to play it like in a where? Not for 2 songs on a concert. You know what I mean? That's not enough. So you need them to play it somewhere like at the Grammys, or you need them to play it at a music video. And think about what it would take for all the things to line up for that to happen. And now you can just send it off to social media content creators and they'll make a dedicated video and it's immediately seen by thousands of guitar players. And again, you guys, I think, constantly disconnect from the audience and the internet. The creator market is this disconnect of millions and hundreds of thousands versus tens of thousands. We just had this problem on this channel recently where I did a video. It's got 24,000 views. They literally couldn't make enough product for you guys. I capsized them with that video. Could you imagine if they got onto like some big channel that got them a couple 100,000 views? That wouldn't have done them any good. They don't have any product. So yeah, the Donner thing is definitely crazy. When I'm doing the interviews, if you guys notice, I've been doing these interviews. A couple of them were sponsored by Donner. That was a very straightforward thing because Donner is so agreeable. Okay, they agreed to sponsor those interviews and sponsor them under my terms, which is they get an ad, but they get it at the end of the video. And you can imagine, I don't want to tell you, not because of any reason, I just kind of like want to see you guys think about it maybe I'll tell you next week if you really want to know what they pay, what does sponsorship cost on a video like that. But I'm going to tell you right now, like just doing it's called is, what do they call it? They call it I'm at a loss of what it's called. It's called integration. They wanted integration. It's basically a commercial. They want a commercial in your video. So basically, I do a 30-second integration. In other words, I talk about their products for 30 seconds at the end of the video. So again, if you notice in those videos, not even in the beginning is it mentioned like this video is sponsored by Donner. Nothing's mentioned. You'd have to watch the whole 30 minutes to get the end. And I go, hey, by the way, this was sponsored by Donner. Check out their website. And that's what Donner got. And they paid to cover the time because those do take time to do those interviews. And interviews, as you can imagine, you can look at my views, you can see those videos could make anywhere between $30 to $50. You know what I mean? And then you're like, you don't want to make a lot, but you need to make, just like anybody else, you got to make enough to make sense, the hours that make sense. So Icenic says, everybody wants to know what vendors pay for integration commercials in your videos. I don't think they do. And I mean that non-sarcastically. What I can tell you is if you also notice a lot of those videos aren't sponsored. So Michelangelo Badio video, Donner wanted that video. I decided that because he was talking about sawtooth guitars and he was so passionate about that brand, and he gave up his time because he doesn't get paid for this. Again, I'm not trying to be like, you got to pay me for my time. I mean, I understand he's also giving up his time too. I get that he gets to promote his guitars and he also gets to promote his albums, but essentially it was his time. So when in that case, the only one that wanted to sponsor was Donner, I told Donner, no, I just don't think it makes sense to put, even at the end of a video, hey, by the way, I know we've been talking about his brand of inexpensive guitars, but here's another brand of inexpensive guitars. It didn't make sense. So I let that one go. Petrucci, I think I told you guys that no one wanted to sponsor it. It was weird. Let's see. Yeah, and so you guys are, I'm just reading some of the comments you guys are talking about it. But like I said, that stuff is all, it's not huge payouts, but what's great is that Donner gets that, and just to give you a reference, I mean, here's the question to you. And then again, even if I tell you guys, I still won't tell you until next week because I want you to think about it this week. I know everybody has an immediate reaction in their mind. If I do a video and it gets 14,000 views, and out of those 14,000, let's say only 5,000 make it to the end of the video, and out of that 5,000, only 2,000 paid attention to that 30-second integration, and out of that 2,000, only 1% convert, which is about the average conversion rate. So, 2,000 people, okay, so 10% would be 200, so we're talking about 1%, so we're talking about 20. So 20 people bought a Donner product. The average Donner product was $50. You see how this is working? So you can imagine there's almost no downside for them because there's definitely not paying me thousands of dollars. That doesn't exist in this world. I mean, companies expect to pay $300 to $500 for a whole video for channels. You guys know this. If you guys watch any other YouTube channels, most of them tell you their rates. I don't have rates. Most of the time I'm not charging. And when I do, it's, like I said, it just depends on what the deal is. A lot of times it has to do with giveaways. I just don't want to cover as much of the giveaway as possible. Like I'll be honest with you, I'm still, the PA giveaway is next week, and I just know deep down it's going to end up going to a country where it costs $500 to ship that thing. Let's see. Hold on a second. I just want to, before we jump subjects, I just want to see if there's any. Pete says he really enjoys the interviews. Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, I talked about this. Joe at Rat Pack Records was the one that kind of set that all up to get those interviews. It was really cool. It was really cool to do them. It's really fun. I think a lot of you guys enjoyed it. It like I said, I did what exactly I predicted it, which is why it's great that it's timed out for this time of year. It tanks the overall views of the channel, kind of brings the channel down. You get those little nasty emails from YouTube saying your channel's not performing as people are not interested in the content you're creating, which is just a beautiful thing to read 10 minutes before you go to bed at night going, did I do a good job today? YouTube's like, no. If you guys don't make YouTube content, I know some of you guys have YouTube channels, you don't understand. YouTube loves to tell you when you're doing bad. They tell you when you're doing good, but they love to tell you like your viewers do not enjoy this video. So basically don't make like this anymore. So when you make a video like that, they always send you the nasty, your videos do not enjoy this video and they're not picking it. You're like, great, thanks. So, all right, let's hit some super chats while we got some of those as well. And the Panda did a super chat, and his super chat, hold on a second, was crazy for a second because he says the Fiore you sent me won't stay in tune. He means the ornament. Did you already get it? Was it? She was fast then. I thought so. Either he's. I hope he got it, but I know she sent it. But I was shocked everything got out Monday. Farce did a super chat. Thank you. I appreciate that. Casey says, hey, Phil, I just bought my idol's guitar, a Billy Joe Armstrong signature Epiphone. What are your thoughts on it and the Inspired by Gibson line? I'm a big fan of the Epiphone and Gibson inspired line. I've given up, so you guys know, I've given up, and I'm going to be making a video with my Gibson R9. And the intent of that video was to do a Gibson R9 compared to an Epiphone. I just was not able to find an Epiphone that I could buy. Some of you guys even reached out and said you loan me one. That's not what I was going for. I wanted to actually buy a Gibson R9 and buy a Gibson 59, right? Or at least get one that I could play for weeks and come down and go and tell you guys, like, honestly, like, hey, look, this is what I preferred about each. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is where I landed. And, and if it's, hey, the R9 blows it away, it's the R9 blows it away. And if it's, hey, I don't see the point. But at the end of that video, my intent was to go, I'm only going to keep one. And which one would I keep? And that tells you the true story, right? Which one do I sell off and which one do I keep? Or which one do I send back and which one I keep? And it just became too hard. I mean, you know, my normal vendors that I deal with, like, you know, retailers and stuff that I have an in with to get a deal on a guitar, just never got any in stock. I went looking for them, you know, trying to find one. Because again, it's not really a fair fight if I just get a, you know, like I said, if I just buy the random one. So long story short, there won't be a video on that, but I will do the video on the R9 and talk about what I like about and don't like about the R9. But I like Billy Joel Armstrong and I like the Epiphone stuff. So, WooTech says, "Hey Phil, just a tip, as you say, it's super chat for no reason." Now you guys are scripting out what I say. But since I get to say something, I will say you should interview Tommy Emmanuel. That would be nice. I think you have a similar mindset. Yeah, the interview things, I don't have any control of that. Basically, if you guys couldn't figure it out, some of you should have figured it out. Like I said, a viewer, Joe, who has a record company, he's like, I can hook you up with these guys. And then he hooked me up with the manager, and there's a manager. So Tremonti and Petrucci and Sammy and another one that I have coming, they're all the same manager has them. So that's how they connected me to those guys. So that's how you do that. So that's the deal with that. They are, like I said, they are a lot of fun. They are, the only downfall of the interviews is that to do them, obviously, look, you got to be on those guys' time. Those guys have, you know, they're busy too. So, and almost every single one of those interviews, because of the time zone difference, I have to do like at noon and in the middle of the day. Again, not complaining, I'm explaining. And so the problem sometimes is in the middle of your day, you're doing these interviews and you got to research before you do them and stuff. So it takes up some time. And so it's really cool, but it also, like, it would be one thing if I could just knock them out of the park fast. You know what I mean? Talk to them for 30 minutes. It doesn't seem to work. Every one of them has took about 5 to 6 hours total all in for research, the filming, and then editing, and then what you guys see, which is great. But, you know, it's a little tricky if I can find more artists, but so the one thing I can tell you on the channel is I've interviewed, you know, the guys from Polyphia. I've interviewed Steve Vai. I've interviewed, Dave from Skid Row. I've interviewed, you know, everybody I've interviewed. It's funny. It just fell in my lap. I've never asked for an interview. So every interview you ever seen on the channel, somebody said, hey, we can get you this person, or the person themselves said, hey, I'd like to be on the channel. And, so that's what I'm kind of hoping happens from this is maybe, you know, you get a message from somebody going, hey, I actually am the manager for like Tommy Emmanuel, and I'd love for him to be on the channel, and I'd love to talk to him. So again, mostly because I really like Rick Beato's interviews, and I like interviews with these musicians, but as you guys can tell, I really want to I keep mine as focused on the gear. And because that's not something I see them talk about as much. Everybody else seems to talk about the music, which is great. But if that's being done, would it be nice if you do the counter, you know? So, all right. We have I Watch Stuff. Says, when did you feel confident enough in your skills to start doing repairs for money? Well, I had it very easy. I didn't start doing repairs, as I've said. I started building basses. So I was building basses, and then. And it was, like I said, it was a perfect storm. I love that term. Like I said, most of you guitar players, some of the bass players definitely have the aha moment. You got to understand, early 2000 is like to bass players what 1984 was to guitar players. In the early 2000, all of a sudden, like Victor Wooten, Marcus Miller, like everybody was into bass. Basses took off, high-end basses. There was, if you guys remember, if the bass players, some of the guitar players, at least you'll get an education about this. There was all these stores across the country that were bass-only stores. The Bass Place, Bass Central, all these stores that just sold high-end basses. And so long story short, I started making basses, building them, and, you know, like anybody else, kind of working on an idea and going, okay, and I had this shop, and I go, I'll do this stuff. And then I sold one. And then from all this process, I go, wouldn't it be great if I, manufacture some overseas, right? That's usually everybody's thought, right? Like, oh, I'll build some, and then I can manufacture some. And what happened was, and I've told the story so many times, but I'll tell it again, no problem. I ordered hundreds of this bass that I designed, and they showed up. I had them shipped. I had to hire someone who get them over here. What do they call that? Don't say a shipper. It's not what it's called. It's somebody who deals with all your stuff, the import and stuff. So I hired somebody to get all this stuff in, get it through customs, all this stuff. And I basically got them and they were all horrible. I mean, there was probably out of, 400 of them, there was probably, I don't know, I'm going to be nice, 20 of them that were great and the rest just were horrible. And so I just had to start fixing them. I mean, this is your money. It's in, tens of thousands of dollars invested in this. So every day I would come home from work and no, somebody says smuggler. It's a customs broker. Thank you for saying smuggler because it reminded me it's customs broker. So customs broker. So what happened was I'd come home from work every day and I would work from seriously like 6 in the afternoon till 2 o'clock in the morning every day fixing these bases so we could sell them. And we sold a lot of them. I mean, obviously we sold a lot of them. I did another batch and we did really well with them. And that led down, it's a very long story, and it's not a long story in the time it takes. It's a long, like I'm not, it's just more involved in that. But that eventually evolves into let's open a store. And when I opened the store, obviously I was already skilled at that point. I already fixed, I don't know if I can say thousands, not thousands. I mean, hundreds and hundreds, just under 1,000. Let's say that bases, total refrets, total. I've done it. I mean, I had done it all over and over and over and over and over again. So at that point, doing repair just seemed to make sense as a source, for the store. And what was different when I did it, I mean, now it doesn't seem different, but at the time I did it, we had never seen anybody do it. I was doing my repairs out in front of everybody else, in front of you. You would come in and I would do the repairs while you would talk to me face to face like this, and I would just do repairs. It wasn't like in the back. So that was a little different, but that's the courage wasn't really a thing. Like I didn't go, oh no, how am I going to do this? It was at that point, I'd just done it so many times. It was just not a big deal. Matthew says, hey, I got a Gibson Les Paul. What do you suggest for treble bleed circuit? The PRS, what the heck? Oh, so he's asking about treble blade circuits. Okay. This is where I'm going to tell you, I don't really think about that at all. There's a guy and he owns Tone Shack. I definitely think you should check him out on Reverb. He's really into this. He sent me some really good stuff. I've used some of his treble bleeds. I like them. I have put no thought into treble bleeds. When I've done treble bleed videos, I get a lot of comments, or not a lot, but I get quite a few comments like, what about this resistor and what about this value and what about this? And what I've learned is I don't care. I buy, like I said, I've done a bunch of those videos and I'll tell you, in those videos, I tell you where I buy the parts. I always buy them from Antique Electronics, which is a local shop, which is also like Tubes and More, something like that. And I buy whatever one comes out to like $3-4, and that's what I care about. And I try not to kind of get too into that. I like what the treble bleed does, and I really don't want to analyze it too far. There's a reality for this for me, and it becomes like I like to call myself a general geek, a general kind of guitar geek. In other words, if you ask me questions about like the industry or repair or this amp, this guitar, pickups, I can give you these answers because of all the things I've done. But when if you're hyper focused on one thing, like if you're really into tubes, or if you're really into like fret wire, that gets a little too deep dive for me. Because like I said, I find that I've tried to do that stuff, in the past, in other words, personally, like kind of A/B things like that. And it just gets too much for me. When I have to A/B things like 50 times and go, I think there's a little difference in the first one. It's just too much. Like I said, I'm looking for, to me, blatant, like, okay, to me, a guitar without the treble bleed and with the treble bleed is much different. And there's things that I like about both, but I mostly use treble bleed. So, because like I said, I like to roll the volume knob back. So, and yes, PRS uses, like I said, and that's another thing. PRS uses some, everybody uses, like Ibanez probably uses a different one than PRS and vice versa. I just don't really, I don't look at it. I don't care. Because again, I don't have anything that goes, oh yeah, I like it when it's that much brighter. So it's a great question. I just, unfortunately, am not the best capable of answering it. Derek says, hey, Phil, new guitar day. Last Sunday, actually, new guitar week. I had a couple of new guitar days this week. too. So it was a very interesting week. 21 Gibson Custom Shop R9 Murphy Lab Ultra Light Aging. Does this mean I can finally stop buying guitars? Please, God, make it stop. You're going to hate my Gibson R9 video. You're going to absolutely hate it. And obviously I don't want to leak, what I'm going to say in that video too much. You know what I mean? I'll give you a taste, so to speak, as they would say. The Gibson R9, the one I have, I picked out. I literally didn't buy it online. I went to a store and picked it out, and there was multiples to choose from. And I picked the one that I thought was the absolute best one. And I can tell you, it is a fantastic guitar by all means. And I don't plan to talk about, the value and how much it costs and all that stuff. Really what I care about is like what you said. This is the ultimate guitar. So does that mean that it ends all things? And no, not for me. I think it's a beautiful instrument. And I think it has a lot to say. It's a quality instrument. However, I like to talk about the psychology of this. I'm not wired that way. It looks like this idea that if you buy this ultimate expensive and beautiful, amazing instrument, it does everything for you and you're happy. I guess I'm not, I'm not wired that way. What I will tell you is what I do like about that kind of level of instrument is that, I guess it's hard to justify buying another one. I don't know. But congratulations on your guitar. The best thing I can tell you is this. It is an amazing guitar. I've played a bunch of the Murphy Lab guitars, a bunch of the R9s, R8s, R7s, ROs, and I love them, and they're great, and, as they should be. You know what I mean? It's an expensive guitar for a reason. So congratulations on the beautiful guitar. And no, I don't think it's going to be the last one. You're definitely host. That's my thoughts. E.R. Webster, what's up, buddy? S-Drum, Beat Buddy, what are your thoughts on drum pedals? I don't use them. So, that's the S-Drum. I bought that when it was on sale. They were blowing them out dirt cheap. I played it. I dug it. It was cool. The Beat Buddy I did not like at all. The full-size Beat Buddy. Now, I played the first one when it first came out. This is after they did the Kickstarter, and it did this weird thing that I talked about. I think I did a video where I talked about it. I didn't like that it always did this weird intro drum, right? Like it was weird, and I couldn't get around it. And I thought Beat Buddy had fixed that. However, the Beat Buddy deal was when they reached out to me. Beat Buddy was one of the companies that reached out to me early on when I did YouTube, and I've said this before, and again, I'm saying this because it was early on. Reason is I bet you they've since changed. When they reached out to me originally, this is years ago. I want to say 2017 sounds right. They reached out about 2017, might have been 2018. They said, hey, would you like to check out the Beat Buddy, the mini one? And I was like, yes, I'm actually really curious about that. And they sent me a script. And I said, I don't do scripts. And so that ended it for me. and by the way, it was like half the YouTube channels that I watched after immediately like, yep, that's the script. And it was a detailed script. So, it wasn't just like, it was, you were not allowed in the script to say, like, I couldn't say, this is amazing. I have to say, the Beat Buddy is amazing. And if you said, like, I like the way the tempo changes, you got to say, I love the way the Beat Buddy's tempo changed. You had to use the word Beat Buddy. And it was like, I could only be from my waist up. Like it had video, what do you call it? Like video notes. Like it has to be from your waist up, and the Beat Buddy has to be in shot at all times. Yeah, so I sent him a thing basically telling him, like, this is stupid. I'm not doing this. And so, frankly, kind of insulted. So, I was insulted. I told him that too. I'm like, I didn't ask to them, to review anything. I didn't ask them for any payment. They weren't offering any payment, by the way, but I didn't ask for any, and I didn't want any. I was like, man, you basically want to send me a thing. I said on loan. They were like, oh, we'll send you one. I said, yeah, and if you want it back, that's great. And they're like, okay, great. And they go, here's your script. And I'm like, what? So, but the reason I say that, and the reason I say that with the way I say it is because I got the sense that after that, they have since backed off and now let YouTubers kind of do their thing. And it was early on, so maybe that's what maybe that's how it worked. I don't know. Yeah, Landon says, "Oh my God, that's brutal." Yeah, you know what? I've only dealt with a couple companies that have scripts. I've never done a scripted video. I won't do it. It's just too crazy. But it's just weird, when you see that stuff. But I get it. I think the problem for me is oh, excuse me, lose my voice. I think if you're a channel that doesn't do gear videos, like for instance, if you do like I react to music videos and then a company wants you to do like some kind of commercial video for them, I guess I understand that, right? I mean, I think if I was watching, I don't know, a race car driver. I don't know. I don't have an analogy. If I was watching a TV channel and some TV star did a commercial, I think you would understand it's a commercial. To me, it's really confusing when almost all my videos look like commercials because they essentially are. They're review type videos. That feels like a commercial. Then how do I disclose this is an extra commercial? Like I know, guys, normally it sounds like a commercial, but today is extra commercially. So that was just too weird. But I will tell you this, they ain't ever sent anything out. That's basically what I'm saying is I think they've changed, but I don't think they took what I had to say very well. And that ended with that relationship. So why do I tell you ER Webstar? Not to shame Beat Buddy. I don't mean anything. Like I said, I think they made a great product. Like I said, I think the Mini looked really cool. I just explained why I'm not going to be doing that video. And that reasoning, I don't use any of those things for drum beats. So there you go. I use the software. I have no idea what I use. It's whatever. I bought a bundle of stuff and it was in the bundle and I use that for basic drum tracks and it works fine for me. Mark says, "Hey Phil, I want to shield the cavity of my EVH Frankie, but would it make sense? The pickguard is cut off, so why would have that?" Oh, I understand what you're saying. So basically, what he's talking about is he's got the Eddie Van Halen Frankie model, obviously where they cut the piece of the pickguard. He wants to shield out the cavity. Why? You're not going to gain a whole lot from it. I would, you could shield it. You could shield it up to that. I mean, it's not like because the other part pickguard's missing, it's not going to be a big deal. I don't know. I don't know if I would worry about it. There's only one volume knob, right? I mean, are you getting a lot of outside noise from that? I would, but yeah, you can shield it. You could shield that cavity off and shield the bottom of the pickguard, and it will help maybe a little. I say that like, you notice how I say apprehensively a little? I don't know if it would help at all, but I know this, you don't have to worry about the rest being missing. It's not like that, causes a problem. So have at it. If you got shielding tape, you just want to do it, just do it. Ian says, love what you do, Phil. Since we had Veterans Day recently, and I rarely make the live shows, thank you for your service. Thank you, man. That's really kind of you. Says, and from a vet to another, go Navy, beat Army. Yeah, well, I'm so out of touch. I didn't even know that. Are they playing this week? Is it this week? Like I said, I'm so not into sports. Even when I was enlisted, I didn't pay attention to that stuff, but I do to say it like, yeah, but for you, I hope the Navy wins because that seems to matter to you. And it would be silly of me to say, yeah, I hope you lose since I really have no investment in it. But Jeff did a super chat. Fox and the Hound says, keep my money. Am I doing it right? No, he's talking about when I said keep your own money and he just gave me some. And then the Panda says, Ian, go Army, destroy Navy. See, now there you go. See, I didn't have to say it. Somebody said it for me. See, go Army, destroy Navy. Okay, and I have some more super chats. But let me jump over to some non-super chats. Okay, let me try to find some stuff you guys are talking about. Like I said, Southpaw 007 says, should a looper or a beat buddy be in the effects loop or in the amp? Depends on, I wouldn't put them in the effects loop. That's just me personally. Here's where it gets tricky. Actually, let me back up. I wouldn't put the beat buddy, I wouldn't put the drum pedal in the effects loop. I would definitely put the looper in the effects loop if you're not using any pedals. So for instance, if you're running the amp clean and you have a bunch of pedals, put the looper at the end of the chain, and that way record whatever you want, whatever pedals you have on. However, if you put that in front of your amp, no other pedals, right? Or you're using the amp's tones, you'll notice the problem is, if you put it in front of the amp, when you turn on the distortion, your loop will now be distorted, right? Turn it off and it'll be clean again because it was recorded before it got to the amp. So if you think about it this way, if you want to loop and think about the looper as a recorder, if you want to record the amp itself, put it in the effects loop, right? Because it will record. So what's great about that is if you let me put it this way, put the looper in the effects loop, turn on the distortion on the amp, play distortion. What's going to be great is when you loop it, even if you switch the amp out to clean, the distortion, the looper will still be playing the distortion because that's what it recorded, and vice versa. And that's sometimes what you want, right? You want to record maybe clean on the amp, and then you're switching to dirty on the amp. You don't want the looper to switch because if it's before the amp, it'll switch both. I hope this is making sense because it's a little confusing with no visual aids or anything. But that's, Southpaw, that's what I would do. But here's the best part. For the questions like this, try it both ways. You know what I mean? Try both, effects loop in front. You can hear people like me tell you what I think you should do with it, but the reality is everybody's kind of thing is that know your gear thing is to kind of experiment and know your own thing, right? So I definitely recommend experimenting. You can't really hurt anything. So go that route. And hopefully that works out. But at least I gave you some suggestions where to start. Okay, JP Miller says, hey, Phil, I love the channel. And he says it changed his life. Thank you, man. That's a really kind thing you say. So started building guitars, and now I'm on the verge of starting a brand. Okay. What factory would you choose, and how would you contact them? Okay, so let me fill my cup with this vodka. And let me tell you how it's different the world is. Now, it's a much different world now. When I came up with the idea, which was, not totally unique, that I was going to go, hey, I'm going to have somebody overseas manufacture my instruments. What happened then was you had to send them a physical prototype, and then you had to send them a CAD file. They needed both. It was very complicated. So I had to send them an instrument, and they take measurements, and they take photos of the colors and stuff. And then you had to send, I had to have somebody do the CAD stuff, which was very crazy because I don't know any of that stuff. And you had to send them these files, these CAD files. Now you could just send them pictures, and they'll send you back something that looks like what you had. It's crazy. And definitely if you send them a prototype, that's all they need. They'll program everything. They'll do everything. That being said, that has changed. What hasn't changed is two things. One, if you listen to my story, the part that you really need to soak in is, and just to be very clear, in 2003, sounds right. 2003, 2002, 2003, 2002 money. I did my first order was $14,000, almost $15,000 just for product, not including shipping and all the other things. Second order was probably $28,000 second order. I don't remember what the third order was. Here's the important part of the story. That's 2003 money. You're talking about $60,000 to get some affordable instruments. Back then, my bases were like $399, $299, which was kind of pricey for an import non-name brand instrument. Now, the reason I tell you that is you got to do the conversion now to figure out what that's worth now and now money. But also understand what I'm telling you is that money meant nothing to them. Nothing. They laughed. They took my money and laughed. They took my money and basically said, we'll send this guy jacked up stuff. And by the way, they were one of the few companies willing to do it. Who I used was Kao Shoshin, which is I think Shoshin is the Providence, and then Kao was the manufacturer. And nowadays, and the dream, so my dream was I'll do that. And then as I go, I'll get like World or somebody more known in Korea to do it. And you can't do that now. You can't just call it world manufacturing and be like, yeah, I'll order 1,000 instruments. They'll laugh at you. Everyone's in this game now, in the have something made and created overseas import game. So here's what I would suggest you, JP Miller. If I was going to do it now, that's the best thing to do. Let me tell you again how I would spend my money and how I would rethink things. If I was going to do, well, first I wouldn't do a baseline now, not because of any other reason than it's not the market that I was back then. The amount of bases I sold as a small independent, because it was McKnight, it was my own name, small independent builder like that. You can't do that number now in bases, not just pop it out. Not unless you have like now, I mean, I have a YouTube channel now and stuff like that, but back then I had no way to market that stuff. I just was like, I'd go to stores and be like, want to carry my bases? And they're like, sure. And that's how it worked. So nowadays, what I would definitely suggest, or what I would think differently now, is I would do what I call domestic outsourcing. You're not going to beat, look, if your game is I'm going to have cheap instruments made overseas, that's everyone's game. Now you're playing in the everyone's game, and everyone's going to do it better than you. You're not going to beat Harley Benton. Those things are just too good for the price point. You would get, I would bet, this is just a guess, I would bet that if somebody right now had $100,000 and went overseas and tried to make an inexpensive product line, you would probably have glary quality at about $250 your cost. Because again, they're not going to do the best for you. They don't, they're not dumb. The overseas manufacturers, again, which is what you learn. You're like, oh, I'm going to give them business. And they don't see your vision. They don't see your brand. They're just a company that goes, what do you want made? Okay, we'll make that. They're like you. They're looking for their score. Their goal is to get a Squire contract, a Sire contract, and that's a small contract, but you know what I mean? They're like that, at least. They're there to get the Harley Benton contract. They want a contract that they know not only buys an instruments for the months, the years, right? They want you to buy up their time so that they can make all of their money making your instruments, and then of course knock them off and sell their versions, which is actually true. So that's a hard game to play in now. That's the first issue. The second issue is that when they do make your instruments, like the ones they did mine, they're going to send you defective work. And that stuff, I mean, you're going to have to be crazy. I was crazy. Looking back now, I would never do what I did then. That was definitely just a moment in my life where I'm like, sure, why not? Why don't I work thousands of hours, you know what I mean, to fix this stuff that should already be fixed when it came. I was like, because I'm in my head, I was like, this is something to do. I'll do this. Now, what I would do differently now is I would do domestic outsourcing. Domestic outsourcing means, I'm assuming you're in the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., then it's wherever you are. Have it built by somebody, and like you said, you're building them. You have it built by somebody that is willing to build a lesser price point than you in the U.S. That could be effective for you. So you can find, there's all kinds of ghost builders in the U.S. to build your product, but the import game, I wouldn't advise it to anybody. Plus, not to mention, is somebody who, like I've told you guys this for years now, you know, okay, great, I fixed guitars, or, you know, I had a store, whatever that means. I'm telling you, this journey as a YouTuber, interacting with the companies behind the scenes as many times I've done, doing as much consulting work as I've done to help, you know, get so many companies' social media up to par, doing all this stuff, what I've learned is it's a different game and it's changing every day, but there's a new world, and that's what you see when you see Donner, when you see Inkshi, when you see Shiji, when you see Glary, you see what you see is these are companies that are like, they don't want to make product so they can make fat American rich business people money anymore, you know? And I'm not going to be political. Don't confuse. I'm not talking about Chinese government and Chinese things. I'm talking about businesses. You guys think sometimes for some reason there's the common viewers connected to the Chinese government, which is a big part of this. We don't even have to talk about them. We can talk about Indonesia. There is a builder in Indonesia, and they build guitars for an American factory or manufacturer. And their dream is not to do that. Their dream is to make their own product so that they can keep the money, so they can make the lion's share of the money. You know, and the problem with that is, again, if you do something, they'll be they'll build your product, but that's not their goal, is to help you build your brand. Somebody said, Casey said, just do it like Mr. Scary Guitar. He's talking about George Lynch. And yeah, same thing. Buy a CNC machine, duplicate, do the guitar. I would say, again, this is my own advice to myself. If I was in your situation, if I was building guitars again, I wouldn't outsource to an import. I wouldn't want to play in that game. You're not gonna win. You're gonna lose in every way. And again, it's not pessimistic, because here's why. I don't even have a pessimistic view of my experience. The money I made from those basses was my nest egg money to open my store. That's where I did. I didn't do it that way, but I made, and I'll tell you, I lucked out. That was a luck out thing that I did. I exited from that part into the music store, into the repair thing. And even then I was like, wow, this is kind of dumb. I should just stick to the manufacturing side. But at that point, the bottom had kind of fell out on the manufacturing. Because like I said, you got to go back to that time when I'm talking about 2000, 2001, 2, 3, 4. That's the beginning of Schecter, right? That's the beginning of all, like Schecter wasn't humming like they are when I was building affordable basses and going to stores and be like, hey, how would you like to buy a bass from me for $250? You could sell for $400. And the dealer's like, this is cool. This is unique. This is different. Now I would expect, I walked in there like, why would we pay you the same price as Schecter? Because back in those rates, that's what they were paying me. I was charging about the same as a Schecter. So that's just some thoughts. So, and like I said, and that's not to tell you not to do it. I'm just giving, you asked what I would say. I can tell you right now, I know the person that you need to know to get into Korean manufacturing. There's a person, he's like the gatekeeper of it. And I can tell you right now, if I gave you his name, he's the first thing he's going to tell you is don't do it. You can't compete. Not in Korea. You won't, so. Alan's Guitar Channel says, isn't an Indonesian manufacturer, if it's a factory in Indonesia, then is it just Americans placing orders? Yeah, that's basically, yeah, of course. We call the American manufacturers. Sometimes they are, like Fender and Gibson. Obviously, they're making stuff here, and then they're making stuff overseas. David Kornblack said, so what about Chapman? Well, first, notice Chapman couldn't stay in Korea very long. Because again, the world manufacturer, Mir, you have to have numbers for those guys. You know what I mean? It's not money, it's numbers. So, excuse me, I got a little tickle in my throat. So that's probably because I went in the attic today to get the Christmas tree and stuff down. But what I was going to say was, hold on a second. It's like not kicking loose. Okay. But also their volume is much bigger than what you're going to be able to move. I mean, they're not huge by any means, but again, you have to have numbers. So, and they could do that. They're not just a store. Anderton's, when they started Chapman, that's not just a store. That helps because they can sell it. They had a successful YouTube channel. That channel's huge. Massive numbers. Back when, everybody was just starting. Massive numbers. I couldn't tell you. I know I listen to everybody going, I don't know, who buys those guitars? I'm like, thousands of guitars. Thousands. Like I told you guys, I consider myself a small channel. I mean, no disrespect to channels that are smaller. I say I'm a small channel because like this isn't making it on YouTube. You can't survive on 20, 30,000 view per videos. It's a very tough gig to get it to work. And I've done, I think, very well. And I like having this show talking about stuff, but it's by no stretch of the imagination is it, Guitar Samurai or, Music is Win or any of that stuff. That being said, this channel sold millions of dollars of guitars for companies like Sweetwater and Amazon and stuff like that. So I can imagine what the bigger channels must be moving. Z says, this isn't a small channel by sub count. Depends on how you look at it. See, you again, it's a perspective game. If you have a channel and you have 3,000 subs, you're going to look at 300,000 subs like a lot. I'm telling you, as someone who has to deal with companies and businesses, my channel doesn't rate. It doesn't mean anything. If you get 100,000 subs, that just means that you're exist. And then you need more than that. You know what I mean? It's tough. And what I mean by that is, think about this. I built, and then I'll get off this tangent. I built this, I don't want to say reputation, but it's kind of true. I built this vibe on the channel of being more transparent, right? You guys may say honest. I'll just say transparent. Same thing, I guess, right? Tit for tat. It's like, hey, I'm going to tell you guys what's going on in the videos. And I've told you guys very frankly, the companies as a whole are not interested in this concept of doing things. And if you have power, if you have views, if you have size, the companies will come to you no matter what. The channel is not big enough to dominate, to tell companies. I can't tell a company, yeah, if you want to be in front of these people, you got to do what I say. It's not that size. So the real my knees hurt says, I just broke 200 subs. Very impressive. I think that's very impressive. I mean, no sarcasm at all. I think it's very hard to get 100 subs. I think anybody could try this. What I see all the time is people don't understand. To get 1,000 subs, I think is like almost a miracle nowadays. I have 30 million streams collectively on the podcast, and I have not yet found one company that finds that interesting in any way. They always say the same thing to me. What is a podcast? So there you go. But this is all just to caution you. Like I said, I would stick to building guitars and doing something interesting on your own. E.R. Webster says, getting new subs. Again, getting new subs is a very slow game. It's tricky. Okay, we got to get back to guitar talk. Because I'm about to lose my voice. Which I told my wife was going to happen when I went in the attic. All right. And I wore a mask. It didn't help. It was so dirty. I live in a state where they have, if you Google it, it's true. We have walls of dirt. We have storms that are just walls of dirt. That stuff gets up there. It's horrible. Tim says, he just did a super chat with a fox. Oh, mate, that's cool. What if I hover over it, it moves? Johnny did a super chat to support the channel. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Nathan Saunier. You guys know Nathan. He said those hats come in purple. I bought this hat in like lime green, purple, white, red. I'm laughing because I'm like, oh, no, not red. It's Fred Durst. Blue. Yeah, all the colors. Gray, tan. I just like black. It's very boring. Jenny said, thanks for all you do, Phil. You've taught me so much. You're welcome. Thank you. Jenny, I think Jenny's the one that won the Donner. So thank you. Spencer says, hey, Phil, I play at really low volumes, so my Shure SM57 doesn't have signal needed to record. This is interesting. The volume. Is there an amp cab pedal with another simple solution? There is. Hold on. Because I'm literally like, I think I'm almost done. I think my voice is cashed out. I don't think I'm going to make it to the end of the show. Again, I apologize. Because it's just not working. All right. While I stall and think, and try to get my throat situation taken care of. Okay. Is there a solution to go direct in my computer? Absolutely. There's many solutions, but I will tell you my favorites right off the bat. The Cab M, if you just want to plug in your amps or pedals direct in your computer, works fantastic. I absolutely love it. The Captor X works fantastic. And I'm telling you its price points. $300, Captor X is now $600, and of course the aux at about $1,500. All three of those are fantastic. That's what I would recommend. I think they're better than using an SM57 mic. So I think these units are fantastic. Absolutely. So, yeah. So I would do that. Anything with impulse responses works fantastic. I hope that helps. Jay says, okay. I have no idea what he's saying. Something about bass. I think he wants to return a bass to Sweetwater. It confused me, man. Sorry, buddy. Fret Level Midnight says, Guitar Crate still hasn't sent me a package. I thought you won last week or the week before. So you shouldn't be seeing it until, if you were December's package, you should see it soon. I can't remember. Because if you were October's, I can't remember what package went to who. So if you were October's package, you'll see it. I thought I sent them the email like a week ago. So yeah, you wouldn't see it yet. So let me know, like I said, I would say by the 10th of December. Then that's the thing. Or you can always email Guitar Crate, TJ. It's just TJ. He's one of the owners. He'll take care of you as well. But please feel free to message me back as well. Grumpy Mike Guitar says, put new strings on a Reverend today. By the way, Grumpy Mike, I got the picture of your sticker on the back of the Jeep. Thank you. That was awesome. I showed it to my wife. And then I don't know when she's because I'm volunteering her. She's going to make you a custom decal for your back of your Jeep. Because I asked her if those stickers are rated for UV, and she said they should be, but I said, can we send them a custom decal one? So when she gets a chance, she's going to have it, because she does it here. She has a machine that prints it out and cuts it, die cuts it, all whatever, and she'll send you one out. So look for that coming, but give her like a week or so. So you put new strings on your Reverend today. He says, I play it a lot. Was sickened by how dirty it was. Shame on me. Yeah, my Gibson SG is pretty getting nasty right now. It's out of rotation as I'm playing a brand new guitar as I'm looking to it now, and I'm very excited about this guitar, but I just can't share yet. The next one says, bought a new guitar. The nut looks crooked in relation to the first fret, is not completely parallel. Will this cause big issues? Intonation. Well, it's not will it, does it? So in other words, are you noticing intonation issues? I would imagine if the nut is off, the saddles could compensate for that, but I don't know if you have some kind of fixed bridge or something like that. Cosmetically, sometimes we get hung up on those things, the cosmetic issues with a nut or a bridge or a thing. And really, it's not about what they might do, it's do they do that. So I would check your intonation, and then if it's out, set it up the intonation correctly. I have a video on how to set up your intonation. You can go right to that video. Just Google McKnight intonation. It'll come up. And then after that, if it doesn't, which is not likely, but it could happen. Yeah, you could have a defect in the nut that causes it, even when you move the saddle, not to intonate correctly. But I've seen weirder things than crooked. You know what I mean? A crooked nut or an issue with the nut. And that's going off the information you gave me. I don't have a whole lot of information, like what kind of guitar, what kind of nut, stuff like that, but it doesn't sound too horrible. Sasha says, broke small chunk out of doing a big bend on the B string. Broke a small chunk of what? Open B now buzzes. Bone nut. Oh, so he broke a chunk out of the bone nut doing a bend on the B string. Okay. Repair, replace, bone, Graphtec, self-repair. I would replace it if you chip the nut. Look, I've done videos how to fix a nut if the slot's cut wrong, or if you chip the nut, you can fix those things. Look, the answer is this: you super chatted me $5, which means I think you should have enough money to buy the nut. Just buy the nut. A lot of videos I do are like assuming two things. One, maybe you're strapped for cash right now and here's a quick fix, or you're stuck. Like if you told me like gig tomorrow and nobody in town carries a replacement nut and it takes a week to get out, I would say, okay, let's start fixing things. I don't think you should fix problems like that if you can, if you have the time or the money or both to replace it. So I would go ahead and replace it. Now, replacing it, here's what I will tell you. If you have a bone nut already, I would stick with bone. Just seems easy. Graphtec is great too. However, you will be changing the sound slightly, in my opinion. You know what I mean? As we always say, in my opinion, the Graphtec, it has a different sound than the bone. Brighter. Graphtec is slightly brighter than bone in my experience, but again, we're back to that like super nerd talk of, is it really a huge difference? Not huge. Okay. Okay. I'm just reading some of you guys' comments to kind of look for something else. Jeff says, I think Mrs. McKnight could start a good-sized business making promo items for other channels too. Yeah, it's funny. There is 430 patrons. That's a lot. And so you guys know, there's a lot. We have a lot of activity. I don't know if you guys know this. My son owns a small business, and then I own a small business, and my wife's works for both of us. She essentially, that's what she does. She runs things for both of us, and that keeps her super busy. And that's not because she wants to. Trust me, she would love to go back doing her real job in life. Go back to real work. But we kind of need, especially me, I need the help. So yeah, she's busy just with what I got going on, with all the stuff I'm doing each week. Because remember, I have so many things going on too besides just the YouTube thing, and the YouTube thing's pretty busy. The YouTube thing's definitely, I never, and I think you hear this all the time from YouTubers, and it's probably because it's just so damn true. I would have never thought in a million years YouTube would consume this much time per week. Never in a million years. It's just it's a never ending time amount of time that it needs. Give me an example, just so you guys know, so I don't just sound like I'm always like, oh man, you don't know. Last week I decided to run that PA contest. And I learned apparently too late that if you put giveaway in the title of your video, there are people out there that are scanning for that. So daily they're looking for anything that says giveaway. And then what they did is they went and hit every single one of the people who put a comment to go ahead and, WhatsApp them and stuff like that. That took about 2 to 3 hours. Just that. Just 2 to 3 hours. Probably 3. Let's just be fair. I'll say 3. 3 hours is what it took me to go in and individually delete each one of those comments that they were soliciting to you guys. And then go to YouTube and fill out all the proper stuff to block them and all their multiple created channel names that took. So here I am doing a giveaway. I made the video. It should be done right now. King Sumo will randomly pick the winner next week, and then I just have to ship it out. And yet now here is Saturday morning. I got up Saturday morning, and I think like from probably 6 to 9, maybe 6 to 10 a.m. That was the first 3-4 hours of my day. Notice how I keep rounding up now. It was about 3 hours. 3 hours of my day. First 3 hours of my day was deleting comments. Now, I could have not done that, but I didn't. I not only was trying to stop it, I wanted to delete all the backlogs so there was no confusion, and I had to block them so they couldn't keep soliciting you guys. That's where these secret little time sucks come from, right? I didn't wake up on Saturday thinking, oh, I'll start my day. I'll start my day with 3 hours, trying to figure out, how to block scammers from driving my viewers crazy. So, yeah, so it's, again, things like that kind of get sucked up, but it happens. It's part of the gig. Guitar of 1952 says, hit the likes. You know what? I'll make you guys a deal. How many is there? 948? I've never done this before. What time is it? 5:44 in my time? So the show's got 15 more minutes to go. I'll tell you what. I mean, it's got to be crazy. I got to hit 800 likes. Probably won't pay a dividend you guys want, but it's the only way I'm going to do it. If I get 800 likes, I'll show you the guitar I'm not supposed to show anybody yet. And it won't be exciting. So prepare. just for you do. Okay. Now, here's the good news. If I don't, you'll see the guitar in about a week or two. It's just, this is a prototype guitar, and it's not time for anybody to see it yet. But, I don't know. I'll do it. Whatever. We'll see. Okay, hold on. Sorry, I'm just scanning for Claudia says, hey, Phil, Rob Chapman just reviewed a Harley Benton tube amp. I saw the thumbnail. I didn't get to watch the video. It was pretty nice, Thunder 50. I would imagine. Look, I think I've told you guys this. I went to Thomann for a week for one of those events, right? And I got to see Thomann's facility. I got to see their warehouse. I got to see them as a company. And I got to talk to them intimately about their company. And I don't mean for videos. I just was curious. So I talked to them about, how does it work and what does it work? And the Harley Benton deal is simple. And I've said this before. They're just buying so much stuff. It's so crazy, right? And it's as simple as exactly what you can. It's what you think it is exactly that. They just go to a manufacturer and they go, we want this guitar and we want thousands of them. And of course, they're going to get a smoking deal. And they just ride the price, the profit line thin. They just thin. And so, yeah, of course, my guess is, I don't know, maybe at this, I didn't watch the video, so I don't know. But maybe at this level, maybe they finally got a designer to design a tube amp and then they had it, built. Maybe they just went to a company and said, a manufacturer and go, what amp are you building? And they put our name on that. So it's probably some other buddy's amp. They're just buying for half the price. Essentially, what they did is they're doing the same kind of method as Costco. Like, do you guys know, if you're big Costco people, I know, Grey Goose, and I could be, the names are wrong, but I think it was Grey Goose Vodka closed a facility and moved to a bigger one. And then Costco, I think, bought the old facility and started making the Costco vodka there. So there was like a rumor. The rumor I heard was that the Costco branded vodka was the same as Grey Goose. We asked a manager at Costco and he said, no, it's not true, but we actually make it in the old facility of Grey Goose, right? The point is that when companies get big enough like that, they can just kind of do this. I would go, like I said, I've told you guys asked me to review some Harley Bentons. I was very impressed, like I said, overly with the guitars. Unfortunately, Harley Benton did not like my reviews. I don't know what it was, but something triggered them in something I said or did in one of the reviews. And they had, I just think they're used to every video being, wow, I can't believe this for the price. And I kind of came at it like, it's really good, but it was more, I think for Harley Benton, for me, it, like all expensive guitars, if you buy it for the right price and you put a little time and effort into it, I think you could have something really interesting. But I also feel on that same turn is that once a guitar like that gets $500, $600, $700, you can start buying used gear. You know what I mean? A $500 used guitar, $500 is a really good guitar. So it's funny. There's 600 likes. You might actually do it. Brian says hard pass on the Costco bourbon. I'll keep that in mind. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm just reading. Now I got you guys all talking about Costco liquor. So, I'm trying to find guitar stuff. You know what's funny? My throat was dry. I just thought I'd tell you, my eyes are also very dry right now. So I think I might have had allergic. I'm a little flushed too. Maybe allergic reaction to something. So it's possible. Like I said, it was really dusty up there and dirty. Okay. We have Gary says, hey, Phil, I bought my first PRS, a 2020 Zach Myers. I did review that guitar. It was a really good guitar. And I can't put it down. I love it so much. And I'm thinking of selling all my guitars, $10K worth, to buy a custom PRS. Is it worth the risk? Are they that good? Well, that's gear math. So let's warn you the gear math. Gear math is if this $500 guitar is great, then a $5,000 guitar is 10 times better. And it'll never pay that dividend. There's always opinions about this. I personally am at home with PRS at the S2 line. I like the S2s. I feel like I'm getting like this American-made guitar, and it's kind of cool, and I love the way they kind of feel, and I just like them. And they feel more premium to me than SE for some reason. Again, this all could be psychological, but there is little things I'm noticing when I'm going over the guitars. There's just a little bit better fit and finish on certain things. And then the core guitars really don't appeal to me overly that much. As someone who bought like the 8 hollow body, which is like the really super high and expensive PRS guitar, what I'll tell you is that there's no way I like that more than any other PRS guitar. So again, what I will tell you is this: if you got the Zach Myers and you think you're getting the core is going to be 10 times as good for the price point, I don't think you'll be excited. I think a core PRS is a very good guitar, and I think you'd be very happy with it. If you're telling me, like, hey, should I get a PRS? Will I be happy? Yes. If you get a PRS, it's going to be 10 times better than your Zach Myers. I don't think so. I don't think so. But I like them. Do Max says, hey, Phil, as a Plexi guy, would you use an overdrive or distortion to get modern metal tones? So that question is confusing a little bit. I'm trying to understand, are you saying would I use a modern pedal in my Plexi amp, or would I use that? The answer is yes. So I think I know where this question is going. Would I use a modern pedal, right? A modern overdrive or distortion to get metal tones. I love the 5150 amp. So I use that amp for sure. I like that. I like the Fireball 25. Same thing. I love that amp. I'm looking at the amps over here. I have a Bogner. Absolutely love it. I like high gain sounds. I use high gain sounds a lot. More than probably, again, I use high gain sounds way more than probably people think I do, but not as much as a lot of people. When I'm in the mood for it, I'm in the mood for it. I love it. I love high gain amps. So I like them. What I like about Marshall Plexi mid-gain kind of sounds is it just suits a lot of the stuff I do. But yeah, no, I like pedals. I like high gain stuff. It's funny. I was just thinking about it. So right now it's like, man, I wish I could show you the tracks I recorded, because I've been recording a lot in the last year. But I don't think I have my audio hooked up in a way that I can share the tracks with you right now. If I hit play on my tracks, I think if I pull up the software and play, I use different interfaces. This is a podcast interface, so I don't think anything on the podcast is set up in the OBS to hear it. So maybe I should set that up, so next time I can play you. Because, yeah, I'm just looking at my interface. There's just no way. I can do it if I set it up before the show. So maybe next week I'll do that and let you guys hear some of the tracks I've been recording. A lot of it's a lot of gain. Ryan says, hey, Phil, new guitar day. Just got my Les Paul Studio that I ordered from Guitar Center, and I got a deal on it as well. My first Gibson. Any pedal recommendations? Well, I don't know. I don't know what sound you're looking for. So there's lots of great pedals. Like the OCD is a great pedal. What else? It's like looking. I like the 5150 pedal. I'm looking at pedals on the floor right now. I like the Plexitone by Carl Martin. That's a great pedal. I like the Pedal Pal 800 and the Plexi. I definitely like the Lawrence Petros 68 and the 87. Those are the two I go to this day. I still have the original. Well, I don't have the original 87. I have the new one because I like that better than the original one I had. So I got rid of the original one and kept the 87 new one. Those are all great pedals. I mean, pedals are like endless amounts of great recommendations for pedals. So, Okay. We have Music Therapy Laz says, missed a bunch. Just want to say happy holidays. You rock. Thank you, Music Therapy Laz. I appreciate that very much. Very, very much. Wes says, Phil, I own a couple of tube amps, and even with nothing connected to the input jack, they hum. Is that normal for tube amps? It can be. Sure, of course. Is it the house wiring an issue? Is it... okay, so a couple things. First of all, again, not having a lot of information on what your situation is. One thing I will tell you is sitting too close to the amp. What's common for guys like us and gals at home players, you can't sit too close to these amps. So you need to be a few feet back. So the first thing I would tell you is make sure you have a good guitar cable, a nice shielded cable. You don't have to have Megami or any of that stuff. I mean, it's really great. Just a basic good guitar cable that's quality. And then make sure you get at least, how far am I from this amp? See my hand right here? See how I'm not even, I don't know. Look, I could touch it. I'm far enough right now. So you need to be this far from your amp. And don't face your amp. So what I would do is get away from your amp, at least 4 to 5 feet. Yeah, 5 feet. Face away from the amp. Make sure you have a humbucker. And I know you said it's doing this without you plugged in, but let's just start there. Then, like I said before, one of the things you can do, one of the tricks I've learned at home that works really well is take your amp into the bathroom, plug it into that plug, because that isn't connected to a refrigerator or something else. And sometimes that helps isolate the problem, because again, it could be a refrigerator, it could be anything. But tube amps, they do hum. And some of them worse than others. The next question was, hey Phil, any insights on the Floyd Rose? Wait, any insights if Floyd Rose will manufacture their Discovery Series guitar strings again? I would say no. I don't see Floyd Rose going down that strings again. And that really was a problem. The problem with that, I think, to this day was they had such an interesting idea. And I'll never forget this. We were a dealer, and they were doing BC Rich. Remember they had exclusive BC Rich, and BC Rich was doing those strings. So you guys know what they're talking about? They're talking about strings that had balls on both ends, basically. They were bullets, and you would just put it in the guitar, hit flip the thing, and the guitar was just instantly in tune. It was really cool. But after they did the Floyd Rose, or after they did the deal with BC Rich, then they started doing the Discovery Series, the Floyd Rose guitars. And I think that's where it got confusing for the customers. And I think BC Rich got a little like, we're not really into this anymore. I could be wrong. I mean, BC Rich could have just stopped for a ton of reasons. But I would be shocked to see them actually manufacture those strings again. What I don't know, and somebody might know, is if somebody else does that. I know for a while Addario did. I just don't know if they do anymore. So, and I might be thinking of Strandberg, because I think Addario still makes Strandberg strings if you request them. So maybe I don't know. It was, yeah. So I hope I'm sure if you have a Discovery Series, at this point I would just drill in the headstock and put in strings, figure something out. Meester says, happy KYG Friday. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. How are we doing? The fact that I made it in the show without my voice just totally dying is just blowing my mind right now, because I feel a little better, actually. Tony says, how are you liking the new Friedman pedal? I think it was he said, what is it? It's the small box. So I got the small box pedal. I plugged it in. I thought it was okay. It's really good. The problem is, I think if you're looking for the Friedman small box tone, I think it's great. I think my problem was, my hope was, I'll plug into it and go, wow, this sounds kind of like the small box. Kind of like the Pedal Pal 800 sounded like my JC 800, and the Pedal Pal Plexi sounds like my Plexi. And I think the BE kind of sounds like the BE. It sounded great. I kind of prefer my Plexi Tone Carl Martin over it, but it's really good pedal. But I also only played it for about 30, 40 minutes, and I think I need time. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm going to keep it. So I like it that much. I like it to keep it. I just don't know if I'm in love or anything with it. I think right now it's just like, oh, that's a cool pedal. So, and I need to do the actual AB, but my rigs are set up in a different way right now for the videos I'm making. Okay. Vaughn says, Phil, do you still love your Taurus acid reflux pedal? Bought one when you and Taurus had 10 pedals for $100. I still love it. I still do love that pedal. I still own that pedal. I never got rid of it. I don't use it as much, but the main reason is because, like I said, I'll use the NUX Atlantic or I'll use the Caverns by Keeley because it's a combination, has a reverb delay. And I think that's because, I think I've told you guys this before. So there's, my world is like, okay, there's YouTube videos I'm making, and then I have rigs for like what works for that. And then I have my personal rig. And so that pedal, delay pedals are just something I'm not using very much anymore. Reverb pedals as much, because my personal stuff, like right now, I know I have this Marshall behind me, but right now, what I'm playing through, like what I was playing through today, let's start with that. What amp am I using today? I'm using my Paul Reed Smith custom 50 head that I absolutely love. To me, it's, I love it. It's one of my favorite clean amps, and I like the dirty tone. So I'm using that amp, and I'm actually using the Plexitone. I was using the 5150 too, but I should say 5150 also. I'm using the Plexitone through it. So just one pedal distortion into that amp. Well, that amp has reverb, but what that amp's going into is then going into the aux. And then out of the aux, it goes into a 112 Paul Reed Smith cabinet, which has got a vintage 30. So I'm not attenuating it by any means, but also then the line out of that aux goes into my DV Mark powered 112 cabinet. So, okay, so we're understanding this. I'm running guitar into a pedal, into the Paul Reed Smith amp, into the aux. What's happening is the DV Mark, the powered cabinet, the aux has delay and reverb in that. So what my delay and reverb is coming from the aux. And that's how I've been running my rigs lately, is I run an amp into a cabinet, and sometimes I listen to that cabinet, and sometimes I attenuate it off, or I kind of turn it off, but I'm using some kind of DI stuff. And why am I doing that? Well, it's because I've been recording a lot, and it makes things easier, again, like a monitor for me. What's in the recording? What's going into the interface? But I still love my acid reflux. Like I said, I didn't get rid of it. And that says a lot, because I think, or my delay, acid reflux delay, I think delay wise, I probably own, I mean, seriously, like an independent delay. I have the Rival by LPD because he gave me one, and I really like it. In fact, I can say I like it as much as the Taurus delay. But I have a DD3, and I have a analog Boss delay. So I have 4 delay pedals. That's it. And there you go. Okay. All right. Alucard Law says, what do you think of Bad Cat amps? I love my Bad Cat amp. I like it. It's the Vox kind of Fender Vox. It's the matchless sound. I like to call it the Nashville sound. We talked, me and my buddies were talking about, ditching some amps, like me selling some amps. I sold a bunch of amps on Reverb last week. My wife was kind enough to do that for me. I had a pile of stuff downstairs, and she's like, what are you doing with this? And I go, I'm going to get rid of it. So she just listed on Reverb. Everything sold within hours. She sold my car, CARR amp. She sold my Mesa Boogie Rectiverb. She sold, out of the mini amps, I got the Bogner, the Diesel, and the Freeman. I decided to keep the Freeman. I remember I told you guys, I go, I'm either going to keep them all, or I'm only going to keep one. So right now it's the Freeman's the winner of the 3 for me. All are great, but I think I prefer the Freeman the most. I thought I got rid of something else. And I really believe this. I think if I could pare down to just like 3 or 4 amps, I think I'd like to just do that. Besides, like I said, what I'm talking about is not the amps for the channel, just for me personally. But I absolutely dig the Bad Cat amp for sure. Drew says shipping amps is a pain. She did all of it. Brick says, Phil, car amp review? No, I didn't review it. It was a great amp. I just didn't review it. Steve wants to know what car it was. It was the Mercury 16. It was a head. So it was a Mercury 16. There was, when I was developing, so you got to understand, I bought a ton of amps. We'll go on a side note since it's towards the end of the show. I bought an insane amount of amplifiers the last couple of years because for the pickups. When I did all the prototyping for all the pickups, I ran them through everything. So you give a reference what I did. I bought an old crate amp, like a G40, G75, G80, G80. I bought a G80. I bought the car. I bought a two rock. I bought a Soldano. I bought what else? I'm looking some of the stuff. Obviously, we had the Bad Cats. We had all 3 different kinds of Friedman amps. We had 5 different Fender amps. Plus, I borrowed a ton of amps from friends and companies from friends. But I bought crap tons. The Bogner, right? There's something else. There was tons. Every amp you can think of. I would set them up in the shop, and we would go through them in different cabinets and play guitars with the different Blackstock pickups in them to kind of figure out this thing. Right. So to tell you the deal, now it's okay, because now it's time, it's towards the end of the year, because we didn't want to kind of talk about this ahead of schedule. As you guys know, I started manufacturing my own pickups. Well, we learned real fast that I cannot produce pickups as fast as people can order them. We never even draw. It's like Phillip is like, you bought a crate on purpose? Of course. Same with the Katana, same with everything else, because you want to see how your pickup reacts, You know what I mean? Where does it change? Where does the tone start changing? Is there a sweet spot? What can you do? It's why I have 400 different pickups in my shop. We went through everything and trying to do this stuff, because when we what do we call it? We found out real fast that I can't make pickups as fast as people can order them, which is why you guys never saw a Blackstock video. Okay. There was going to be a video June 1st of this year, and it was going to be like Blackstock pickups. You can, which are my pickups, my brand, and you guys could buy them. The problem is that I did an early release to patrons. They bought up a ton, and then just people started buying pickups, and then word of mouth caught it. Now, I don't want to you think that there's thousands out there. There's hundreds of sets of my Blackstock pickups. But again, how many can I make in a month when I got to do YouTube videos and I got to do all this other stuff, right? And do repairs. And I mean, it was just an insurmountable amount of workload, plus the sourcing of all the components and stuff constantly. So what ended up happening was, we know that there's this wall that we hit, which is, right now we're expecting in February to be caught up with pickup orders from what we're doing. So the question became, what's the next step for the pickups? And this is early on too, by the way. And instead of doing what a lot of pickup manufacturers have done, which is I'll create, like a P90 set, a Tele set, a Strat set, humbuckers, different humbuckers, like have a line of pickups. What we decided to do is create 2 pickup sets. So, and technically 3, which is the Copperhead single coil set, which by the way, we filed for patent on, and we already got the first thing back, which is the patent search shows there's no patent on. So we might get a patent on that pickup, which is a very difficult thing to go for a pickup. And there's a little bit, if you guys want another episode, if you want to know about the patent, I'll tell you more about it. But so the single coils, then the humbucker set. So the reason why this is important and why I'm telling you the story and why we did all the amps and all this stuff was basically one thing I do have going for me is I do know a lot of the people in the industry on a business level. You know what I mean? Not just a YouTuber level, but as a business level. So what ended up happening was we have been in talks, but more than talks, I should say, in a in a pickup company actually making those 2 sets of pickups, and then a third one. So it'd be like the 2 humbuckers and the 3 single coils, and then an HSS set, which was basically just those sets combined, right? But they would always be sold in sets. And the idea would be I would never stop making ones by hand, but of course it wouldn't be a price. It wouldn't be a price thing like I'm going to charge a fortune for my pickups. It's just I'm only going to make so many. So, and then if you want the other ones, you can buy them from this other manufacturer, and they'll be spec'd exactly like mine, and that's the way we'll do things. And then it'll be that thing. So so that's the idea. Does it make sense? And the reason I couldn't talk about that was we didn't know if that was even going to be a viable thing. We actually right now we have 2 companies that are interested in doing it. In doing this. And the problem was, of course, during COVID, which I know it's still COVID, but you understand, during the problem with not getting materials, the companies were like, how do we make pickups, your pickups as an OEM when we can't even get through what we have done? So now we're going to do that, So now they're like, okay, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So we can do the thing. Thunder Felix says, who's the distributor? Like I said, we'll make the decision. It'll be one of 2, but I'm not going to tell you which one because, it doesn't matter. What will matter is like I said, there'll be 2 ways of doing this. You'll either buy them direct. Well, we don't know. Either way, I think you'll always buy them off our website. Mojatone. It won't be Mojatone. Although that would have been, dude, that would have been fantastic if Mojatone would have done it, but no. So I'm just reading some of you guys' comments. But that's why I went through all the amps. That's all done now. All that R&D is pretty much done. Like I said, we I can't tell you, but I can't tell you, but we got to a point where, like I said, we feel like we did it. We knocked it out of the park with the pickups. At the same time I'm talking, I'm reading you guys all talk about these. You know what? Sharpen your PAF. So funny you say sharpen your PAF. So like I said, into the show, let's have some fun. First, I'm wearing my Sharpen My Axe t-shirt, which is kind of funny. Sharpen your PAF. I got to tell you the funny story about where the pickups came from. Starting a company making pickups was my crazy idea that I was going to start a company selling pickups, and then that company was going to sponsor Sharpen My Axe. I told you guys before, I couldn't get anybody to buy into the idea of Sharpen My Axe, and I go, well, then screw it. So I'll start a company, and it will sponsor Sharpen My Axe. And that's basically what's going to happen when this is all done. I'll be able to make content that I want to make, and I'll have a company that sponsors it. Tom says, what is the price point you're aiming for? Well, that's the best part. The pickups that will be mass produced on machines and not handwound by me will be a fraction of the price of what mine are. They'll be in the same price point as Seymour Duncan DiMarzio. So same price point. Because we'll be changing the deal. It'll be a royalty deal. In other words, they'll make the pickup and they have to pay me like 6% royalty per pickup. It'd be no different than if you had a signature pickup in that idea. And then if I wind them, then it's going to be what they are now. Because again, it's, Luke says, why did you name him Blackstock? Blackstock is the name of my grandmother's maiden name. In my family, it was like a big deal. Reba McIntyre, she's divorced now, but she was married to a man named Orville Blackstock. That's my mom's cousin. So like in my family, I got to hear my family, big Reba McIntyre fans in my family, huge to be honest. And they would always we would go see Reba McIntyre in concert, and my family was like, she's married to a Blackstock, which is from your grandmother's side, and it was a big deal. And so when I decided to name the pickups, I go, what should I name? And I go, I should name them Blackstock after my grandmother. So. All right, so this is the end of the show, and I won't screw you guys since we didn't hit 100. And like I said, it's not super exciting, but let me tell you. Let me show you. Okay? All right. As I go off screen. Goodbye. Okay, so as you guys know, I was working. This isn't, I'll just show you the guitar. This, if it looks like a beautiful copper Strat style guitar, it is. This is a beautiful copper Kiesel guitar. This copper is different. We went with a different thing. As you can tell, I already took off the back cover. This is a Delos. What is this? I'll just tell you. This is you're getting a preview. This is the final, not the final, but the prototype, I guess so it's the final. I had Kiesel kind of copy my copper Strat. Now, when I say copy, they didn't clone it. We just went through some crazy features. So let me show you what this is. Now, the copper on this, I think, is more beautiful than the copper on the copper Strat. They made this copper. One of the things we wanted to do was not just like cheesy, like, okay, clone this Fender guitar. That kind of sounds jerky. The point was we wanted to make it something different. So this copper has a kind of a burnt orangey copper look to it. It's actually it's almost like chrome. It's just crazy how they did this. Hip shot bridge. This is the Delos. And again, as I've always said, you guys, I'll never do a signature model. This is not a signature model. What is this? This is an option. Like I said, this is too soon to tell you, but this will be an option you can get at Kiesel, which is you could get this color. And so here's what it is. Alder body, maple neck, not roasted, rosewood fretboard, stainless steel frets. Again, all stock hip shot bridge. You can get it whatever way you want. And by the way, on a side note, somebody said, what about Dylan Talks Tones pickups? I think I would imagine, I wouldn't reached out to him, but I would imagine if I was him, I'd want to build my own brand too. You know what I mean? And I don't know if he has necessarily more time than me. He's really busy selling pickups too. Again, I think you have to understand, like, you guys, everybody tells me the same thing. Like, why don't you get your kids to help you? I'm like, do you want to buy a pickup that was made by my kids? I mean, I think they do a great job, but isn't the whole point to have the pickup that was wound by me or by a professional company at a discount, right? Because if my kids did it, it's not going to be much cheaper. So, okay. So what's cool? Matching headstock. I did the truss rod delete, so there's no truss rod cover. Again, if you want a truss rod cover, you get it. You get Kiesel in black instead of being so bright. And so if you were to order a Delos, and you could probably do it before we do the announcement, but I'm trying to see if they'll give. That's what I said. This is early. Okay, we're talking about doing a deal. A deal meaning like you get a discount if you do the option pack. What is special about this guitar is the color. Right, this, which doesn't come out in this, like I said, it's kind of orange, burnt orange, kind of copper, but it's exactly what it is, like a burnt orange copper. These are Kiesel pickups. This is the lithium in the bridge, which is the high output pickup, and this is the beryllium in the neck, which is, I used the Somnium swapping guitar to kind of figure out the combination, and I figured out that combination kills. It's just amazing. I know I could have put black stock pickups because I can ship them my pickups like anybody else and have them put in. But I absolutely love these pickups, especially in this guitar. And then, so if you were to order a Kiesel Delos and want it specced out like mine, which is what we were kind of going for, is like you could order the spec. You would just order it with the copper finish, which is number 31 or something like that. But also the way I have this wired up is different. So it's a 3-way switch, volume and tone. This is how it works. Ready? With the switch down this way, so this mini switch down, it's humbucker, dual humbuckers, humbucker neck. Okay? With the switch forward, which you could do it either way, forward, it's humbucker, dual single coils, single coil. So what happens is the humbucker, the bridge never gets coil split ever. So throwing the switch puts in the center mode as 2 single coils or the neck. And the reason I did that is because I like to play, if I throw it forward, I can be in humbucker mode, go to neck, or humbucker mode, go to 2 single coils. But down, it's humbucker and then go to humbucker neck. I wouldn't use 2 humbuckers in the center because I'm not trying to do that, but that's it. So again, it's not a signature model, which means what's important about that is usually, as you guys know, if you did a signature model, you could only order it the way it's done that way. That's not something I'm interested in. This is essentially I asked them to, just like you guys could do this. Anyway, anybody could do this. Okay, anybody could call up Kiesel and go, hey, I'm looking for this crazy color and I want to switch a different way. And they would just do that for you. But the idea was, I talked to him about, could we do this cool copper? Maybe if I go back, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you know what? If you hold it back a little bit, you can see it kind of coppers out a little bit more. You could order it up that way. You know what I mean? If I did it, then it's not so much like an upcharge custom order. It's just an option pack. But what I did do, hold on a second, is, and to give you an idea how soon this is, radius on the neck is 12-inch radius. But again, you could do whatever you want. You could do 9.5, you could do 10, you could do 14. It's spec'd out exactly like my Fender Strat, which is, my Fender's also 12. So this has stainless steel frets. Yeah, somebody said burnt orange. It really will look coppery orange. It really lends to copper, but it is like a burnt orange. But the point of this is, well, I'll let you know, we had to, obviously I had to get the guitar, play it, make sure it's everything I wanted, which it is. And now I'm going to let them know what I asked them to do, if we could do, was offer a like a limited edition run. Don't get nervous. Trust me, it would be like the stands, as many as we think you guys can take. Okay. I don't get any kickback financially for this. I just tell you that because that wasn't what was important to me. It was important to have the guitar. This is from me buying all the Kiesels and doing all the Kiesels I've done. This is kind of what I wanted. I wanted this Delos that I love, my headless Delos, but with a headstock in this color. Yeah, somebody said just order the Phil special. But what I talked to him about was, could we offer how they do when they do the holiday sales, they will be like, this weekend only, you don't have to pay for the upcharges, because custom finish would be an upcharge. 12-inch radius fretboard is an upcharge from 14. It's like $20. Rosewood, I think, is $40 more if you want ebony, right? So it's more of a, I talked to him about, could we offer the upcharge items I did on the guitar, and kind of like, for so many buyers, there's just no upcharge. That was what I asked for. And so we'll discuss that this week, I'm sure, and get it all sorted out. So I can tell you guys, like, okay, if you call them and order it, and even if you change it, it doesn't matter. So for instance, if you change some of the things that are different from mine, it wouldn't matter. It's just the things that I did that would be upcharges wouldn't be upcharges. But yeah, somebody said Kiesel is killing it. You know what? It came out way better than I ever hoped, playing wise and the way it looks. Brian says ebony works though. Of course. Well, that's the whole point. You could get ebony. It's just like I said, if you decide you want rosewood, I was trying to negotiate where you wouldn't have to pay the upcharge. But again, ebony I think looks just as good. I only picked rosewood because I literally spec'd it out exactly like my custom shop Fender. It's exactly the same way. That's why it's not roasted. I actually like roasted too, but I wanted it spec'd out like the Fender Strat. So, and no one's really asked like what they cost. I have no idea. Because I get this bill later, I'm sure. But again, they're not going to charge me for any of the upcharge stuff, right? They're going to make me a very, accommodation pricing, I'm sure, for sure. But that was kind of like the thing too, was to kind of keep the price super, super low. So yeah, I thought it was fun. It was really cool. And I gotta tell you, like I said, over and over again, I deal with Brandon at Kiesel. Brandon is like the super nicest guy. And what happened was, this is why this is important is, I have talked to 3 companies. Kiesel was one of those 3. I talked to 3 companies about this. I said this same thing. I said it to G&L, right? I said it to other companies. I said, look, I have this copper Strat that I like. I like the wiring in the way I wired the pickups up. I like, having a 12-inch radius fretboard. And a lot of the other companies, I would have to change the neck carve, but the Delos neck carve I actually like just as much, if not better, than my Fender Strat. So it was really nice because, again, it wasn't so chunky. And every company offered them the same deal. Okay, so this is the deal I asked. I said, I'd like to make the guitar, and then I'd like to offer some kind of deal to the viewers if they decide to buy a version of this guitar. In other words, again, I'm not asking for a payout for me. I'm asking for a discount for them. Why? I don't know, because it's fun. It's fun, I guess. And also, I said, obviously if I have this, I'll play this more because I've told you guys this story before, especially you guys hanging out to the end like now that are more diehards. You guys know the custom shop Strat. I paid $1,925 for it back in 2000. I think 2008 is when I bought that. It might have been 2007. And that was dealer cost. And now to get a spec'd out Fender, like the same options as, like I said, if you wanted that, like that Kiesel, if you wanted that as a Fender spec, that's $7,000. I know because so many of you guys have emailed me. I went to my Fender custom shop dealer and they told me it takes 18 months and $7,000 to make a copper Strat like yours with all of the features. And so what I was trying to do was like, okay, I get it. I like the guitar. I tend to play it a lot. And every time I play it, I get it because I watch YouTube channels too. And it's just like, that's why I want a Pete Thorne. You watch him play it and you go, that's a cool guitar. I want it. And I go, I want a guitar that's more obtainable. What is the weight? It is, I don't know. I didn't weigh it. It feels exact to my copper Strat. And I think my copper Strat is like 7 pounds 14. So this is sub 8 pounds. Okay. So it's on the, it's perfect weight. That's all I know. Sub 8 pounds. I know it's not 8 pounds because I know it's not heavier than my Strat, and my Strat's not over 8 pounds. Yeah, Zanzibar says they don't guarantee weight without a big upcharge. Yeah, it's like $200 for a weight for sort for weight. And again, that was kind of like the idea of doing the limited thing, which was limited being you could get an option pack, you know what I mean, and go not have to pay the upcharge. Because and again, I can't guarantee all this is going to happen. Like I said, this is I'm just telling you, they were the only company that was willing to indulge this idea first before we could offer anything to you guys, which is why I told you I was doing this premature. Remember, I had to make sure I even liked the guitar and everything works. If I got the guitar and it was horrible, if it's a longer guitar and it's horrible, who cares if they did anything nice? So like I said, so that would be the way to get the option pack a little cheaper. And again, I and change it up, even if you don't want it exactly like mine, but at least the option up charges I picked wouldn't be an upcharge. And like I said, they were considering it. So I would imagine we'll have a code, or you'll call and go, hey, I want it like this. But maybe you'll go, hey, I like it, but I don't want that color. Then you can do whatever you want. So. Jerry L. I don't saw the question. Jerry L. says, is the Katana Mark II still worth the money? Look, the Katana period is a very nice amplifier. It's great. As you guys know, I have a Katana 50 again. And I will tell you this, the Katana 50, like I said, I bought it again because I told you guys I wanted to have an amp that if I do certain videos, I could say I have the Katana and play through it. I still like my Spark more. I'm sorry it took a second to think about that. I like the Spark more. Spark is what's in my bedroom. It actually went from the shop back into the bedroom, and that's what I'm playing through. And I still like it more. Nothing wrong with the Katana. They're both great, but I just like the Spark because I like how quiet and it's just on my dresser and like on my nightstand, and I just play, and it's great. So, all right. I will, like I said, I will talk to you guys next week. I will make sure that I get more information. Somebody said call it Copper Sunset instead of Silver Sky. Yeah. I think they named the color already because they created this color. This was in the original back and forth. And guys, I've been kind of alluding to this for weeks, or if not months. Originally, we were going to clone the copper on that guitar exactly. And they had got it. They had mixed the paint and everything was like, okay. And then slowly over time, it was kind of like, I gotta give these guys credit. They were kind of more and more like, can we one up this? You know what I mean? Couldn't we beat this guitar? Like, in other words, it went from, can you clone, can you make a guitar like this guitar? And they're like, yeah. And then slowly they were like, well, can't we make it better than that guitar? Can't we do these things and make it slightly better? And I'm like, sure, let's do that. So there you go. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for hanging out this Friday. As always, sorry about the internet issues. Like I said, we'll have the internet guy back out. Always fun. And until next week, right? There's no holiday, right? Yeah, we're good. McCopper. It's funny. So thank you guys, obviously, for the likes. And like I said, it was cool. I had to show it to you. I couldn't leave you guys hanging for all the ones that left the likes. And for the rest of you, thank you guys so much for hanging out, super chatting. If I missed anything, I'll scoop it up next week. We were going to do a guitar crate giveaway. I'll just do 2 next week because, like I said, my flow got messed up when the internet dropped. As always, thank you guys for hanging out, especially dealing with my throat issues and the longer show. And I'll see you guys next week. Till that time, know your gear.